Welcome back to another FPL deadline stream, and the first blank game week of the season, the Merseyside Derby, has been postponed, and that will change things a lot for those with maybe double or triple Liverpool. You might have had Mykolenko, although he was never really going to start for you. And for the captaincy, it definitely blows it wide open, despite the early kickoff curse potentially facing off against Salah, but we've now got severe weather conditions also playing a part, so it looks like the early kickoff curse cannot be beaten, so we have to look in a different direction. I discussed many different transfer plans in my team selection video yesterday, and I think this news really actually pushes me towards one transfer, and that's to buy back Isak shamelessly. I've got enough money to sell Chris Wood to Isak, unless maybe the late, or should I say the overnight price change has changed things, but that is one transfer I could do. Bench Salah this week, he's definitely not a sell, and I can then bring him back into the starting 11 next week. Still have Brian and Boomer to live to fight another day. My defensive line, though, is on its last legs, and I need to make a defender transfer. I might even take a -4 hit this week to go really aggressive, buy Isak, maybe even captain him, and then bolster that defensive line. 8-0 against West Ham away. I mean, despite West Ham really struggling, so are Wolves. I'm not really backing 8-0 there. Gabriel is an injury doubt, the same with Veltman. Otherwise, I'd be fairly happy with Gameweek 15 in this position. Ryan is absolutely fine. The midfield and even the attack is fairly decent, but there's always room for improvement, and Isak could certainly help me again, although I bought him just 2 game weeks ago. He blanked, then got injured, then I sold him. He gets a goal and an assist against Liverpool, but we'll talk more about that later in the stream. Smash the like button and subscribe if you're new if you enjoy my content. I promise to get this to over 200 likes on YouTube and to keep on pushing towards new goals like 31,000 subscribers, and keep your eyes peeled for UCL fantasy content over the weekend. So yesterday I recorded the Limitless team, and it's already available for channel members and patrons. So if you do sign up, that is one of the many perks you get: early access to my content, and that'll be uploaded in a couple of days' time for all subscribers. But let's get straight into things with your questions. I'm sure there are many interesting ones here in the live chat today, and hopefully we can get everything to work, no issues. Let's also make sure this overlay will function. Sometimes it needs a bit of a nod, so that should be fine, hopefully. Yeah, I literally just talked about the UCL fantasy videos, and that spamming is just ridiculous. So sorry, mate, but you are banned. Not a great start there. Let's get into the first comment that was made earlier, and that was by James123. Hello, Dylan. Hope you're well. Who to start out of Mbeumo or Semenyo? It's a close one because Mbeumo has been brilliant in home matches this season, but I'd have a slight preference for Semenyo. Haaland now my captain with the Everton-Liverpool game postponed. Yeah, I do think Palace City could be low scoring, although last season we had plenty of goals there. But yeah, I think City could still score 2 or 3, and Haaland could be heavily involved. I just didn't really like what I saw against Nottingham Forest. He played well, but he dropped deep, and from a fantasy perspective, you want to see him in those normal positions up front. Since our game against Everton got postponed, I'm guessing I'm captaining Saka. Yes, so Saka was my vice-captain in the team selection video yesterday, but I did say I am looking at Joao Pedro and Cole Palmer as well. So at the moment, I've got Palmer as my captain. If I buy Isak again shamelessly, I'm also very tempted by him. He's got a great record against Brentford, and Newcastle also tend to get the better out of the Bees there too. Welcome the Colombian. It's all good. Hopefully you are doing well too. Easy99 says tempted to buy Morgan Rogers, but afraid he'll be rested against Southampton. Yeah, I think with Aston Villa assets, that kind of holds with Rodgers and Watkins. I think both of them start, but it isn't a guarantee. So I'm not sure if I'd invest in them this week with that rotation risk, particularly Rodgers. I'm more confident about Ollie Watkins starting with Rodgers. I'm not going to say I'm 50-50. I still think I'm fairly confident he will start, but not as much as I would be with Ollie Watkins. Raman says bench 1, Lewis, Dallo, 8-Nuri, and Chris Wood. I'd probably bench 8-Nuri from that lot, if I'm being honest. The Colombian puts his current team 0.6 million in the bank with 1 free transfer. So the players that I think should be on the chopping block for you include Mykolenko, Lewis, Trent and Salah are obviously holds. McNeil will be the other sell. I think the rest is absolutely fine. So what I'd be looking to do this week is sell either Mykolenko or McNeil. So if we kind of break it down, this week you start Raya in goal, Lewis, Gabriel if he's fit. I think you probably need to make a defender transfer. You could start Nuri, of course, with Lewis and Gabriel, but I think it's probably necessary to make that move because if Gabriel is out, you'll be down to 10 men and 2 defenders. So, yeah, I'd sell Mykolenko first, and you could go to Milos Kerkez up until Gameweek 21, essentially. You've also got Lewis Hall, who remains decent, but yeah, I'll be honest, there isn't a standout kind of budget defender. I think Levi Colwill is kind of ideal to buy in Gameweek 16 if you haven't already. So, yeah, if you want to go a bit early, maybe Colwill for Mykolenko. If not, I'd probably recommend Milos Kerkez for Mykolenko, despite the 11-pointer he got in Gameweek 14. This changes everything. Yes, it looked like overnight it seemed very likely that this would happen, but of course, when I recorded these videos the night before, there was nothing about this storm. So, yeah, it did kind of take us by surprise in the early hours of Friday. Suhas says, took a -8, Wood to Isak, Mezraoui to Trent, and Mbeumo to Semenyo, and the game got cancelled. Well, looking at the bright side, at least he only bought one Liverpool player. And look, sometimes you've got other commitments or you want to make moves early because you might be priced out. I get that, but typically I do recommend to wait as long as possible to make your transfers. But in this one, you're unlucky. I'll be quite honest with you. No one saw a blank game week coming in December. There is always the possibility because of extreme weather conditions, and it has happened before, but it's very rare, so you are unfortunate. Sadindra says, hey Dylan, since the Liverpool game is off, I got Mbeumo coming off my bench for Salah, so should I sell Mbeumo to a 10.8 million player? If so, who? I'd be tempted by De Bruyne. Now, that goes without saying that Saka and Palmer are the best midfielders you can buy, so if you don't have one of them, I'd highly suggest you do so. But if you want to take a bit of a punt, I'd recommend Kevin De Bruyne. Now, the big issue, should I say, with him is, will he stay fit? Is he going to start this game? And I couldn't guarantee you, but I think it is worth that kind of high upside. Or just let Mbeumo come on and sell Collins to Kerkez or any good defenders. Yeah, I wouldn't want to start Collins or Hall this week, ideally. I have a slight preference for Hall out of the two. I think in your case, I'd start Mbeumo and I'd buy Kerkez. Do you think Lewis plays? I do. I think he will. Akanji and Ake have injury problems. I think Stones as well is out. I think Lewis will play. Do you think any other games will be cancelled? It's possible. At the moment, I don't think so. The only game that really had these rumours circulating was the Merseyside Derby. So yeah, Salah postponed. Yeah, he was my captain for the entire week. So time to look a bit different. So yeah, the official FPL deadline remains the same. Yeah, they pretty much never change the deadline when these things happen, if I'm not mistaken. So glad I didn't go Trent early. Yeah, that was one of the transfers I discussed in my team selection video, and Drafthound were recommending it. And I also put out a poll on my channel which talked about that. Thank you for the super chat. Let's get this up. So Samir, thank you very much. Bench Rodgers or Wood? Love from India, by the way. Thank you once again. I would bench Chris Wood this week. It's a more difficult game on paper. And despite Man United being kind of up and down, you'd still back them to beat Nottingham Forest. And if Rodgers starts against Southampton, there's a very high ceiling there. And I think Aston Villa could score 3 or 4 goals in this game. So I'd start Morgan Rodgers this week. But it's always difficult to bench Chris Wood. I said it last week. He missed a big chance against Man City. But he tends to do that, actually, against his favourite club. I think he actually supports Man City. But anyway, I would start Morgan Rodgers. What is the percentage of participation between Rodgers and Luca Dean? In terms of likelihood of starting, I think with Morgan Rodgers, I'd put it at 70 to 80%. With Luca Dean, probably a little bit less so, around 60%, but I think both of them start. We'll wait and see. In fact, Luca Dean is in my FPL challenge team. Best differentials, I mentioned De Bruyne earlier, so that would kind of, factor into that answer. I'd also be looking at Jared Bowen still. I was very impressed by his performance against Leicester. Very unlucky not to get a goal or assist. There are plenty of differentials I've discussed in all my videos. Semenyo, well, maybe not so much Semenyo. Evanilson and Kerkez, I think, would be 2 mega differentials for you. So check out my best wildcard team and the transfer tips. Martin Odegaard would be another decent punt. Is selling Cunha for Isak a good move? I like Isak a lot. There's a reason why I bought him a couple of weeks ago, and I probably should have stuck with him a little bit more. But I wouldn't sell Cunha just yet. I think he's still worth holding on to. Yeah, the Merseyside Derby is cancelled. Let's actually go into that just because there might be some people tuning in who have no idea. Why is the blank in the title, for example, for this blank game week? So let's get straight into it. So it's pretty much confirmed now. The BBC and all these different organisations have confirmed that Everton versus Liverpool has been postponed due to adverse weather conditions. There is a storm in the UK, and this game was always kind of discussed as a possible postponement on Friday night. There haven't been any rumours about other matches being postponed, but it is a possibility, and if anything does happen in the next hour or two, it will be covered in this deadline stream, so just keep your eyes peeled. So with the FDR, Aston Villa are top until game week 20. Wolves, Bournemouth, Man City and Liverpool are in the top 5, but I think Liverpool would shoot right down to bottom because they have a blank game week this week. Then we look at the bottom 5 teams: Everton, Leicester, Man United, Forest and Ipswich Town. So it's a very good time to sell your Everton assets for me, but you hold on to your Liverpool players in most cases. So Salah, Trent, Van Dijk, Joe Gomez, I think they're all worth holding on to. I think other cases you might argue a sell, but we'll get into that later in the stream. As for predicted points, well, let's forget about Salah because he isn't playing this week. So Haaland is the top dog with 7 predicted points. Palmer is actually joint top with him. Watkins, Saka, Isak, Fernandes, Cunha, Wissa, Son complete the top 9. Let's also add Chris Wood into this top 10. And Fantasy Football Hub do love these Crystal Palace assets, especially Eze, who is always near the top here. Let's also go to a predicted price website in live fpl.net. This is what I use during my reaction streams and also when I make early videos in the game week to provide you my game week score and also my rank. It's a very good website. So they project Amad Diallo, Rodgers, Saka, Matoma, Timber, De Bruyne, Van Dijk, Cunha, Wan-Bissaka and Iwobi to go up in price tonight. And they also have Strand Larsen, Palmer, Damsgaard and Joao Pedro, and there will probably be more after the deadline has passed. As for projected price falls, Mbumo, Welbeck, Smith Rowe, Veltman, Kadioglu, Solanke, Barnes, Johnson, De Cordova-Reid, and also who? Well, a budget midfielder. Awani, Lucas Paqueta, Reed, Akanji, Mark Gu, Areola, Cresswell, Gabriel Jesus, Edward. Quite a lot of price falls actually projected. Also Franca and McNeil. Apologies, by the way, didn't mean to sound rude to those players I never heard of, but that's my fault. Let's go to Drafthound as well. So obviously they will update this very soon in terms of their top suggestion, selling 8 Nuri to Trent Alexander-Arnold, but they also recommend Gabriel to Saliba, if not Semenyo to Mitoma, and Veltman to Borros. So it looks like the Veltman transfer has been an absolute disaster. It basically meant I took a -4 hit last week, otherwise I could have done it for free. And I sold Isak in the process, so I lost out on a lot of points. And even if I captained Palmer still and didn't go for Salah, I could have gotten a green arrow if I'd kept Isak, but I need to double check that. So in terms of the updates with the starting 11 and stuff, they've gone for Semenyo, 8 Nuri and Vandenberg in the 11, but shortly they will update this and put Salah on the bench alongside Mikalenko, and they will also change the captain. So they're recommending Saka from my 50-man squad and Palmer as the vice. Let's go to the stats section of 2 of the best forwards in the game right now. I think these are the top 2 dogs here. Isak versus Jackson, identical stats here in a lot of these metrics. So in terms of shots, you know, pretty much identical, but Jackson has more on target, more shots in the box as well for the Senegalese forward, higher XG, and also more big chances, more big chance created, but Isak leads in key passes. And also, let's not forget, Isak has played far less football than Jackson. It might say 12 versus 13, but Isak also played 45 minutes against Wolves earlier this season and then came off with an injury, and also against Crystal Palace around 21 minutes in game week 14, in game week 13, sorry, it was. Yeah, he obviously didn't complete the game. So with Isak, it's technically 10 kind of full starts there. So I do think his stats are very impressive. And for me, he's the best striker in the Premier League behind Erling Haaland. The only issue with him is, can he stay fit? And hopefully he can for the rest of the season. Let's go to the next section, which is going to be a sneak preview of some of my transfer plans. So this is kind of what I'm looking like right now. So this is a great website to visualize future game weeks, fpl.team. It's a free resource. I'd highly encourage you to check it out. So let's actually sort this out a little bit. So they're not really backing Veltman, and neither do Fantasy Football Hub or Drafthound really. Veltman isn't expected to start in a lot of these predicted websites and lineups. But I've got Raya, Veltman, Gabriel, Nuri, and then obviously with Salah missing out, we can bring in Chris Wood for now. But I could do something like this. So yeah, Isak did go up in price yesterday. So actually, in fact, I think I'm priced out of this, which is it's very frustrating. But I could take a -4 hit and do something like this. Sell Veltman, Jesus Christ, and then buy Milos Kerkez, and I'd have just about enough money to make these moves. So maybe I should have moved early on Isak, but I also wanted to see if the Liverpool game was postponed, and that's why I waited until this morning. Because if the game went ahead, I would have been quite happy to play a 3-5-2, start in Mbumo, bench Chris Wood, and obviously Salah would be in the 11 and be my captain. So yeah, I think I did the right thing waiting, but of course I am now priced out of Isak with one single move. And Nicholas Jackson might be the one. He's a bit cheaper. Does face Tottenham. He scored a hat-trick at that stadium last season. So maybe Jackson could be the one. But there is that suspension risk hanging over him. So yeah, instead of Isak, I could just go back to Nicholas Jackson. This week, though, I do have a slight preference for Isak against Brentford. I think that could be a high-scoring game. And Newcastle have a great record against them. Let's now go to FPL Challenge. And this is my current setup. So the challenge this week is called Big Spender. So players who cost more than 9 million will earn double points. I've got Raya at the moment. And yeah, as you can see, I need to make a few changes because I had Trent and Salah in this team. Luka Dean, Gvardiol, Saka, Palmer, De Bruyne, Isak, Haaland and Watkins in this squad with Watkins as the captain. So let's make a few changes here. I might just go for Son because of this rule of players over 9 million getting double points, so he could also factor into this. So we'll go for Son for now, although I'm not too bullish on him. And here we could go for Gabriel for now. And yeah, in goal I might change. I'm not that keen on Arsenal against Fulham to double up on them defensively, even in FPL Challenge. So that's something to definitely think about. I've got Luka Dean for now, although I'm not entirely sure he starts. But Aston Villa could keep a clean sheet against Southampton. But yeah, that is my updated team now for this game. I'll be honest, for the last week, I did forget to make changes when we had so much rotation, like Colwill, Sanchez, etc. And also with the Man United players, I tried to jinx. So yeah, that's why I did pretty poorly last week. But before that, I was on quite a roll in this fantasy format. But let's go back to FPL. And yeah, it doesn't look anywhere near as good with those yellow flags and with the postponement of Liverpool versus Everton. Thankfully for me, only 2 players involved in that game, and Mikalenko was never going to start for me. So glad I still have triple captain. Well, to be fair, if you did activate the triple captain this week, you could still cancel it, but I know what you're saying in terms of you can triple captain Salah when he has a double later this season, so that definitely looks really enticing. Yeah, bench Salah, the game is not going to go ahead. That's why he's on my bench. He would never be on my bench otherwise. Isak or Saka for captain this week? I'd actually be tempted by Isak, I'm not going to lie to you, but Saka's still right up there, and he'll probably be the template pick in terms of the FPL community. Payman Armin says, would you do the following for a -8? Wissa to Isak, 8 Nuri to Timber, Fernandes to Enzo, and bench Enzo. Enzo's been brilliant recently, but I still think there is a risk of rotation there, and he can also play a deeper role in certain games, especially against the kind of bigger opponents. We could see that against Tottenham this weekend as well. That's the only transfer I'm not a big fan of, but Timber and Isak look brilliant. I love those transfers. Overall, I'd lean towards yes, but I have to say, I think Bruno Fernandes will do well against Nottingham Forest, so selling him for a -8 might not be ideal this week. Thank you, Aranya. Hi, Dylan. Which 3 to start this game week between Hall, Lewis, Vandenberg, and Greaves? Would you take a hit to replace any of them this game week, or just play them? So thank you for the super chat, Aranya. It's always a pleasure talking to you. From those players, I would start Rico Lewis. I'd go for Greaves and Lewis Hall. So I'd essentially bench Vandenberg. Would you take a hit to replace any of them this game week, or just play them? That's a good question. Depends on your budget. I think that really plays a big part, because if you can buy an Arsenal defender, I think that is worth a hit. It might not pay off immediately against Fulham, but I think long term, you know, buying Gabriel if he's fit, Timber, Saliba, that all works out very well. Apart from that, with Liverpool obviously being postponed, the Merseyside Derby, I'm not so sure if I take a hit for a defender this week. I think only Arsenal defenders would be worthwhile. So if you don't have the funds for that, I'd probably recommend playing what you have. Play Borro or Greaves. I would go for Borro just for the attacking potential. I also think Bournemouth score. Best Welbeck replacement. I'm not sure if I'd sell him. There was a positive update about him by Hursler in yesterday's press conference. I think Welbeck could be in the squad. I don't think he's out for sure, to be honest. Palmer captaincy full risk because Palmer's not always good, especially against Big Six games. Yes, his record against the Big Six, I think, heavily relies on penalties, but he's a young player. He's improving every single season, and he did very well against Tottenham last year, although admittedly, he did score a penalty, but he also got an assist. And I think Chelsea could score 2 or 3 goals, maybe even more, depending on which Tottenham turns up. Isak for Wood or Roll? I'd do it. I honestly would do it. I bought Isak for a reason a couple of weeks ago, but I also sold him very prematurely. So, look, both options are good, but I would probably go for it. So let's actually go to the FPL website and, yeah, let's see what we can do. So, unfortunately, I am now priced out of Isak. What a shock. But this could be an opportunity for me to also make a move elsewhere. That could include Mbumo, or in the defensive line, just get rid of the headache, which is Veltman right now. But I still got Vandenberg, Mikalenko, and Ait-Nouri. And to be honest, with Ait-Nouri's recent form, I'd be tempted to sell him as well. I really would. But yeah, I'll be honest, I think it's just poor, very, very poor management from me in the last few weeks in terms of buying Isak for a hit, then selling him for a hit, and then buying him back for a hit. I mean, that's just ridiculous, isn't it? So I could just buy Jackson in for free, and I do back Chelsea to score goals against Tottenham anyway. Then it's a sea of green in the FDR, and I don't think Jackson will be rotated that much. I mean, there could be 1 or 2 games over this December period where Nkuku comes in, but I don't think it will happen far too often throughout the rest of the season. So, yeah, big decisions to make. And I think if I buy Isak, I'd probably captain him. It's between him, Palmer, and Saka for me right now. I mean, Semenyo's a decent differential, same as Joao Pedro, but there are some concerns about Joao Pedro's minutes. He might be subbed off even earlier in Gameweek 15. And of course, the new manager bounce with Leicester, that can cause some problems. And Brighton tend to struggle against the so-called worst teams in the country. So, yeah, I'm very tempted by Isak as a captaincy option, and I might just pull the plunge, really, and go for him. So, yeah, got some big decisions here, and ultimately Salah will be on the bench, and yeah, pretty much settled for now. Wood to Watkins, Watkins captain. Yeah, there's still a slight concern about his minutes against Southampton, but I think he starts. That should be really good. Hey Dylan, any confirmation on Gabriel starting? No, unfortunately not. I think he will, but Arteta didn't give anything away. What a shock there. Got rid of Flecking, Collins, and Mbumo for Raya, Kerkez, and Kluivert for a 1-week punt. Is that good enough? Yeah, good transfers, but as I said in my recent Transfer Tips podcast, I'm not a big fan of Kluivert. I think a lot of investment will be heavily revolved around the hat-trick of penalties he scored in Gameweek 13. He's a decent budget midfielder, by the way, and he scored more points than Semenyo and a few other popular options, but yeah, that's the only transfer I'm a bit unsure about. But for this 1 week against Ipswich Town, I think it's definitely viable. Yeah, Isak is right up there for me in terms of the captaincy. If I'm making the top 5, he's easily in that list. Bench Ait-Nouri for Kilman or Hall with the Wolves form. I'd still rather start Ait-Nouri. West Ham are also in terrible form, by the way. They've shipped 8 goals in the last 2 games, and both managers are under severe pressure. Yeah, Hall's not bad. It's just he's facing Brentford, and I think the Bees will score. So I'd probably stick with Ait-Nouri. Buy Kluivert or Mitoma. I would rather buy Mitoma. Best 6.9 million midfielder. Well, there are several. You've got Semenyo still up there. Morgan Rogers, who I discussed before. Amad Diallo's, I think, worth a punt. Then you've got Mitoma and Kudus. That's kind of my top 5. And if I had to pick one right now, it's probably going to be Semenyo, but not by much. And I think this week, if Rogers starts and you knew that for sure, you'd probably rather go for him. Okay, so yeah, we still got quite a while until the deadline. Gives me time to think about my transfers. Yeah, I mean, Salah's not going to play at all. I mean, if there was still rumours about the Merseyside Derby being postponed and it wasn't fully confirmed, then I'd encourage you to start him and even maybe captain him, and then your vice will come into play if he doesn't start and all of that stuff. But we know the game is not happening, so you might as well just bench him. Wissa or Larson, who to sell? And for Isak, Jackson, Bodro. I'd rather sell Wissa. I think Larson has better fixtures for the next 3 game weeks at least. Wissa can do well against Newcastle, and I've always said that these games for Brentford, despite them looking terrible on the FDR, I think they're quite decent for the attackers like Mbeumo and Wissa, but it's not going to be anywhere near as appealing as the others, and I'd sell to either Isak or Jackson personally. I think they're both brilliant transfers in. Are you keeping Mbeumo, or do you consider transfer him out this game week? I'm actually more tempted to buy Isak up front again, who I just sold, or Nicholas Jackson, and that would be Chris Wood making way. Yes, I'm tempted by selling Mbeumo, but I've got 9.6 million if I just decide to sell him, and I've still got issues in my defensive line, so it's not looking too good for me. I could buy Kevin De Bruyne as a kind of 1 game week punt. I've got just about enough money to do that. It's just De Bruyne is always a concern with his fitness, and that's why I try to stay clear from him, generally speaking. And then I've got so many other options. I can go back to Bruno Fernandes, who I backed to do well against Forest. I could also go to Brennan Johnson. Iwobi's been brilliant this season. Jarrod Bowen, who I thought was really impressive against Leicester City. So there are a lot of options with that price tag I'm talking about, but I also want enough money to get a mid-price to premium forward and perhaps to upgrade my defensive line in the future. That would be the ideal scenario. So I kind of go back to it, and I'm leaning towards, buying one of Jackson or Isak, and I could even stretch to Ollie Watkins if I wanted to. And maybe one way of doing that is to buy Ollie Watkins and then downgrade Mbeumo to a cheap midfielder. So we're talking about Brennan Johnson here, maybe Matoma, Amad Diallo, etc. But not too keen on that. I'm more interested in Isak or Jackson. So that's where my head is at the moment. Yeah, Watkins will be right up there as well. If I'm making a top 5 list this week, yeah, I think Watkins will be first. In second, I'd probably put Palmer right now. Saka third. No, I'm going to go for Isak third, Saka fourth. And then in fifth, probably Erling Haaland. That's my top 5 at the moment. But I think it's interchangeable. Very, very fine margins between those great assets for this week. Who should I bring in for Salah? Garnacho, Pinnock, or Greaves? I'd rather bring in Garnacho. Yeah, I think that's fairly simple. Dylan, Salah for KDB 1 week punt. Yeah, I think, as long as you can buy Salah back easily, then yeah, I think De Bruyne would be an excellent 1 week punt. I covered Welbeck earlier. Hurstler gave a positive update about him. He could be available this weekend. The same goes for Veltman. I'd expect them to be in the squad, but, will they start? That remains to be seen. I couldn't tell you, so that's been covered already. I'm captaining Jackson. Yeah, he'd also be up there, as I mentioned earlier. Scored a hat-trick against Spurs last season. Yeah, the Liverpool game is confirmed. It's not going to happen. That's been covered before. Mbeumo to KDB or Havertz, Strand Larsen to Isak. Maybe both for a -4. Ooh, that's interesting. I would rather do the striker transfer. And if I had to pick, it's probably Strand Larsen out to Isak. Salah double game week coming up. Yeah, he will definitely be my captain in that week unless something happens. Yeah, Jackson, I just mentioned, is absolutely fine. Good idea to use free hit now. It's team dependent, but if you've got a lot of Liverpool players and you might have 1 or 2 Everton assets as well, in that scenario, it could work well. Maybe if you've also got Gabriel, Veltman, and other yellow flags, then that is a perfect use of the free hit. But typically, I like to use it in a double or blank game week, and we will get some later this season. Of course, this is a blank game week in itself, but it's only 1 match being postponed. Gordon or Bowen? I'd rather go for Bowen. Keep Johnson and Wood. Yeah, definitely keep Brennan Johnson, and Chris Wood is fine. It's just, I think Isak is an upgrade. Isak or Jackson? This week, it'd be Isak. Longer term, you might lean towards Jackson, but honestly, they're both brilliant assets. Cunha to Isak? I'd keep Cunha for now, but Isak is an upgrade, and if that's your only route to go for him, I'm not completely against it, but I also think Cunha's a decent choice. I'd sell Everton assets. I would keep your Liverpool players, especially Salah, Trent, Van Dijk, Joe Gomez. I think those are worth keeping. You might argue Diaz, for example, was a sell. and stuff like that. No, the FPL deadline hasn't been moved. The Liverpool game has been postponed due to the weather conditions. There is a storm in the UK, and there was a red warning in Merseyside. So, yeah, that's why the game is cancelled. I'm not sure if I can go for the free hit team, mate. I'll try to later on, but I can't guarantee. Juntao says, bench 1, 8 Nuri, Gabriel, Lewis, Van Heck. I'd bench Van Heck. I mean, anything with Van Heck, I'd bench him, to be honest. He's a terrible asset. The one time he returned, he was on my bench. Selling Boomer for Rodgers. I mean, if you're backing Rodgers to start, which I do, but I'm not fully convinced, I'm not against that, I'd probably keep him Boomer personally, though. Captain Saka or Haaland. Saka's just above in the pecking order, although Fulham is a very difficult game for Arsenal. Thoughts on Bruno? Good choice this week. I think if you have Bruno Fernandes, you keep. If you don't have him, you might want to go for him as a 1-week punt to replace, or even longer term to replace Mbeumo, but there will be games where he plays deeper and be quite frustrating. I think Gabriel starts. I can't guarantee it. Man City differential. The man on the thumbnail, Kevin De Bruyne. I think that's a quite simple one. Start Greaves or Colwill. Probably Greaves. I think Ipswich Town have a better chance of a clean sheet this week. Is Jackson starting this week? Yeah. The deadline is still 11 a.m. Yeah, there's no change to the deadline. When Everton versus Liverpool rescheduled match, we don't know. We'll talk about that in future videos, but right now, I'd have to do some research and we will find out more in the coming weeks. I have a triple up on Arsenal though, so I could do Havertz to Isak, but both Strand Larsen and Havertz have very good fixtures with Ipswich included. Yeah, I know, it's not ideal, but I do think Isak's an upgrade on both players, so if you want to make that move and be aggressive, I do think it's worthwhile. Gabriel to Kirkes, I'd keep Gabriel. I think he starts, but if you're, if you have a different opinion, I don't think it's a bad transfer. I think in terms of the transfer in, it can come back to bite you though if Gabriel starts. That's the only thing I'd say. Hey Dylan, I want to bring in an Arsenal defender. Gabriel's the most obvious option long term, but should I do Saliba or Timber instead because of the yellow flag? Yeah, great question. And that is a big issue for those with no Arsenal defensive coverage. Gabriel's the ideal one, but the yellow flag might put you off. I'd probably buy Timber at this moment in time. Starting Selzo or Fabianski. Yeah, I still think Fabianski has a better chance of a clean sheet, but both teams have been in terrible form. Even Forest recently, conceding 3 to Newcastle, Arsenal and Man City, although admittedly they're 3 good teams. I'm subbing in Bowen for Salah. That's a great substitute to have, to be fair. In terms of the player to sell though, I wouldn't recommend selling Salah if possible. The Merseyside Derby is postponed because of extreme weather conditions. That's been covered earlier, and some questions that are being asked, if you just rewind the stream a little bit, you will find the answers. For example, I was asked a Isak versus Jackson comparison. I actually compared both of their stats earlier in the stream, so if you rewind it, you can see in the preview section when I talked about that. Who should I bring in for Salah now? Smith Rowe, Colwill, or 8 Nuri? I would probably bring in 8 Nuri. Smith Rowe will have a chip on his shoulder though, facing Arsenal, his former club, and there's always motivation in that situation. Who is the best Mikalenko replacement for this week? 4.5 and below. I'd probably stick with Kirkes. I'm going to double check though, because I'm fairly sure he's going to be close to a price rise very soon if he hasn't gone up already. Yeah, he is 4.6 now, so that is a bit frustrating. I'd probably look at Colwill as a long-term option. Keep it simple. I think Colwill will start most games for Chelsea, and their fixtures are brilliant. I'm personally of the opinion that Chelsea will drop points when you least expect them to, and their record against the Big Six isn't good enough, but they've got a great opportunity this week to go within 4 points of Liverpool, and yeah, I just think Cole was a great long-term investment. Do you think Mazraoui starts? Yeah, I think he starts. Sell Salah for this week only? I'd personally rather keep him, but if you are looking to sell and go for a punt, De Bruyne would be right up there, but it goes without saying, Palmer and Saka are the best midfielders to buy. If you don't have them, I'd prioritise that instead. I'd start Mbeumo Weiseng. I wouldn't be looking to start Nuri over him this week. Yeah, I think 8 Nuri starts. Hi Dylan, what do you think of ESR to Rodgers? Yeah, good transfer. I still think Smith Rowe has something to offer, but Rodgers has better fixtures, so yeah, I think that's a good move. Ahmad or Sharda? Ahmad Diallo. Start Aina or Greaves? I'd go for Greaves. Hi Dylan, I was planning on selling Mbeumo for Saka this week, but now thinking it would be best to sell McNeil, since no Salah. If I want to get Saka next week, I can only spend 5.8 on a midfielder. Yeah, I get you. Not ideal. You might still want to go for Semenyo or Kluivert, and Semenyo is my preference still. The other options would include Amad Diallo, who was covered in my recent wildcard video, and there's also Morgan Rogers to keep it quite simple. Wissa to Evanilson? Yes, would be my answer. Would you start Robinson, Van den Berg, or make a transfer? I'd make a transfer. So Van den Berg up to, and unfortunately you've only got 4.4 million to kind of work with, which not ideal. And I'm in a similar position, by the way, if I buy Isak again. So yeah, ultimately I would make a transfer. That could even include selling Robinson, but he's a decent kind of option to have rotating in these difficult games, and you can always bring him back in when Fulham have a bit of a positive fixture swing, should we say. Captain Saka, Palmer or Jackson? Currently Palmer is my favourite of the lot. Yeah, I think KDB starts, but I'm not entirely sure. That's why I'm not going to go for him myself. So yeah, from those players, they're all good options, but I'd captain Watkins. Just took Trent this game week before the postponed information. Yeah, you're not the only one. Someone else earlier mentioned a -8 hit, which included buying Trent. It is what it is. Sometimes these things happen when you make early transfers. I don't blame you. Quick turnaround between deadlines as well. No one expected this. So yeah, smash the like button if you haven't already. We've got over 200 people watching, which is great to see, and a lot of questions coming in. We've answered quite a lot already, so be sure to plug away with the likes and the subscriptions. We're looking to build towards new goals like 31,000 subscribers. Just going to put a pin message in the live chat. Thank you very much for those who have been moderating and keeping things moving. I do appreciate that. So just to understand, any repeat questions may be skipped. So bear that in mind, just for the sake of repetition. The Liverpool-Everton game is suspended, mate. Yeah, that's been covered. So Salah will not play. He's got a blank this week, and he will have a double later in the season. Thoughts on Bowen, captain? Not a terrible shout, and West Ham have battered Wolves in the past, and Bowen has been instrumental in some of those victories. He's not my favourite, though, and West Ham are so up and down that I'd rather captain a player from a more reliable team. So that includes Palmer at Chelsea or Saka at Arsenal. Now that Salah's not playing, should I sell Mbeumo to Bowen or Kanate to Kerkez or Cash, or do both for a -4? That's a good question. You've only got 2 playing defenders, though. That should be the priority. I'd keep it in Mbeumo this week, and I'd make the defender move and buy Kerkez. Cash might look better for this week, but I'm not a big fan of Matty Cash long term. Thank you, Luke. Free hit if you take on a -8 for Trent. That's a good question. I'd be very tempted by it. And the thing is, if you've also got other doubts like Gabriel, Veltman, any yellow flag player, I think I'd probably play the free hit, because you could be down to 10 men after taking a -8 hit. And with a free hit, you do gain an extra player and also save those 8 points. Now, I prefer to use the free hit in a blank or double game week, and of course this is a blank game week, but it's only one match being postponed. In the past, we've seen, 4, 5, 6 postponements in a single game week, and that is a perfect use of the free hit in a lot of cases, but it's a team-dependent question. I don't know which players you've got, but I do think a -8 hit, kind of wiping that out, I think that's not too shabby, playing the free hit this week, but I have to say, I'd probably need a bit more context to kind of delve into that and give you a definitive answer. I'd lean towards no at the moment, but it might be the right call for your team. Really tempted to captain Pedro. I was as well, but a lot of Brighton fans I saw on Twitter did discuss the possibility of him being subbed off quite early. We're talking about 50, 60 minutes, and that is a big, concern. I took a -4 to do Munoz Mazraoui because Robertson won't play. Right, yeah, I think Mazraoui's a decent transfer still. I do think United are a bit funny defensively because we have seen in the last couple of weeks they've subbed off defenders before 60 minutes, like Dallo and Mazraoui himself, and they've got some tough games still. But yeah, decent long-term investment, and Robertson isn't my favourite Liverpool defender anyway. So just to make it clear, for those with Liverpool assets, I'd recommend holding Salah, Trent, Van Dijk, and arguably Joe Gomez. But if you've got the likes of Diaz, Gakpo, Darwin Nunez, Robertson, maybe even Kelleher, I think those players are sellable. I really think that. Wissa or Isak this week? Isak. Yeah, of course I'm keeping Salah. I just mentioned that as well right now. Cheers, Dylan. Riding the wave, says Luke. No worries. Let me know what you end up going for with a free hit. I'd be very interested. But good luck with your final decision. I wouldn't captain Tielemans personally, but look, if you've got a good feeling about a player, don't let me discourage you. But from my personal perspective, I probably wouldn't do it. I'd rather captain Watkins from the same team, even Morgan Rogers. Garnacho, Mbuma, or Mazraoui to bench. I'd definitely start Mbuma from those three, I'll be honest. If I had to pick one to bench, difficult because Garnacho's got the highest ceiling, but he's also very inconsistent. I'd probably go for Garnacho and go for the upside, but it is risky. Enzo or Kluivert? Kluivert. Mbuma to Enzo? I think Mbuma's a far better asset, in my opinion, even with the fixtures, I'll be honest. And I like Enzo Fernandez as an Argentine, but yeah, despite the recent form, not for me. Captain Saka, Ivanilson, or Bowen? From those three, it'd be Saka. Yeah, Bowen, I just mentioned a few minutes ago, it's a good punt. He's got a good record against Wolves, at least West Ham do. But not my favourite. I'd rather captain the likes of Saka, Palmer, maybe Joao Pedro if I had more confidence in his minutes. You're also looking at Haaland and kind of the obvious choices. Ollie Watkins for me is the standout, and Isak is right up there this week. Saka or De Bruyne for this game week? Saka, but De Bruyne is a brilliant option. He did very well against Crystal Palace back in April. It depends on the context. I think Mbuma is sellable, but I'm looking to keep him myself, to be honest. So, yeah, let's... I'm going to try to lock in transfers soon, and if you know me by now, you know I've got a pretty terrible track record when I say these things. So, yeah, unfortunately, I don't have enough money to buy Isak and also upgrade Mikalenko or Van den Berg. That would be the ideal scenario. Because, yeah, look, then I'm kind of, playing with 3.9 million here. It's just not looking good. So, yeah, Isak is kind of like my dream signing this week alongside Ollie Watkins. But money is a big issue here, and that's where Mbeumo could come in to sell. But I've got a sneaky feeling this could be a high-scoring game, and both Mbeumo and Isak can haul in the same match. But if Veltman doesn't start and Gabriel misses out again, I'm down to the bare bones at the back. I've got basically Van den Berg and Aït-Nouri. Mikalenko obviously missing out, and he was facing Liverpool anyway. So I still feel I need to make a defender move. I really think that. So you might argue the ideal scenario is to buy... Well, unfortunately, I can't even go to Kirkes, but I could go to Colwill as a long-term investment, but I'd still have the same issues. Mikalenko, Van den Berg, and in a couple of weeks' time, Aït-Nouri would be a sell. So I've kind of pushed myself into this situation. I wanted to buy Saka. He was my priority over Isak. I mean, I guess I made the right decision from that perspective. But, I mean, what I could do is instead buy Nicholas Jackson. And I don't have that much wiggle room in terms of money, but at least I've got a little bit more available to make an upgrade. So I can do Mikalenko to Colwill, which suddenly doesn't look as bad, although it is Tottenham away this week. But long-term, Chelsea have a sea of green in the FDR, and I've got my Chelsea triple up in place for that great fixture run. But I have to say, the more I think about it, if I really want to buy one of Jackson, Isak, or Watkins, I might need to sell Mbeumo now. Find a bit of money in that position, in fact. But I'd still have a very weak defensive line. So I could even take a -8 hit this week. And ultimately, I've been very aggressive with transfers recently, and it hasn't paid off at all. The timing has been just out of it, not in sync. And that's something I need to address in the coming weeks. Thank you, Leonardo. I appreciate that. Yeah, last minute Dylan picks. That is my current plan is not to do that. Typically, the reason why I do these things is because I basically just look at the questions and comments. I answer them all stream. Then I've got like 10-15 minutes left, maybe even less. Then I try to, overthink. No, I don't try to overthink. I just overthink. And I put myself in a precarious situation. According to Ben Krellin, the Merseyside Derby will get moved either to Gameweek 25 or 33, and guess what? Both of those would give Salah a juicy double Gameweek. I appreciate that update. Mbeumo is finished. Wow. So is that the same? Southampton is finished, United, Man City. Jesus. Well, you're going through the list there. Flecken or Fabianski? Fabianski. Who's the best alternative for Diaz and Joe Gomez for a -4? I'd keep Joe Gomez. Personally, I'd look to sell Diaz though, and you could go to one of those midfielders I discussed. That includes Brennan Johnson, Mitoma, Semenyo, Amad Diallo. It all depends on your price range. If you got enough, well, you would have enough. Jared Bowen might be my favourite actually. Why captain Palmer over Saka? It's not definitive. It's not definitive just yet, but He did very well against Tottenham last season, and I think Spurs are there for the taking. Start Aït-Nouri or Robinson? I'd start Aït-Nouri. Start Mbuma or Wissa? Mbuma on pens. I mean, based on recent form, you'd say Wissa, but I've got a good feeling about Mbuma this week. I'm going to go for him. I think both of them start, but I'm more confident about Gabriel, and I couldn't guarantee you either way, to be fair. Solanke or De Bruyne or Semenyo to start? Well, if you had De Bruyne, I'd go for him to start, to be fair. Hey, Dylan, what match is Liverpool postponed? If they played next week, the points will be added next game week. Yeah, no, it was just mentioned now. So according to Ben Krellin, it looks like the match could be moved to game week 25 or 33. So that's later in the season. We're talking about, what, February to April, basically. So, yeah, there's still a long time for that double. So basically, yeah, if that game will be moved to another game week, and it'll be a double game week. So essentially both matches count towards that player's score. So Liverpool and Everton will have a double game week, and yeah, that is the appeal of doubles. There aren't going to be that many this season, and I discussed that all along. It was more of a thing in previous campaigns. I wouldn't mind having a triple captainship for double Salah game week later. Yeah, but I'm happy I played it fairly well on Haaland, getting 17 points from it, a hat-trick, so that's my best ever return. I'll take it and not be ungrateful. But I think if I had the triple captain still, I'd be saving it for that double game week for sure. No, Surrender, I'm probably not going to do that, to be honest, because I want to chase the upside and buy a Jackson or Isak up front, but I also want to bolster my defensive line. So I think Mbeumo will live to fight another day. He will be a sell eventually, it looks like, but not just yet. Thank you, Alex. It's all going well. Hopefully you're doing, pretty good too. Collins or Aït-Nouri to start. I'd go for Aït-Nouri still. Pedro captain. I was tempted by him. The fixture is certainly there, but I think it wouldn't surprise me if João Pedro was benched. I'll be honest with you, and I think he'll be subbed off early if he does start. Aït-Nouri to Kirkes or roll. I'd roll. Mbeumo to Bowen. Yeah, good transfer for free. I wouldn't do it for a hit though. I wouldn't do it for a hit this week. I've only got one free transfer, Suki, so if I only make one move, obviously, then no, it's fine. But to buy Isak, I need to take a -4 because I'm 0.1 million short, and I just sold him last week, of course, so that was absolutely amazing. So yeah, I'm in a bit of a difficult situation, I think. If Veltman was available, and Gabriel, I'd be happy to just roll with those two and Aït-Nouri this week, but I just don't know for sure if they're going to be starting. I think Gabriel will, and I personally think Veltman will be on the bench, but I'm hoping he gets back into that starting 11. So, let's see. I'm going to have a look now on Twitter and see if there's any updates on these players, but I very much doubt it. So I'm going to have to make an educated guess and just hope for the very best there. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not too sure about Veltman, to be honest. I know there was a positive update about him by Hurstler on Friday, but it's not looking too good. So, looking at this, I'm looking at something along these lines. So, kind of hoping for the best here with Gabriel. So start him. Maybe buy Colwell for the long term. I know it's not ideal to buy him this week. And have Aït-Nouri in place. I've got nothing left over in the bank, though. And ideally, I'd be looking to sell Mikalenko and Vandenberg. So, yeah. Even with these moves, it's just not looking too good, is it? It's not looking too good. And if I went for if I went for Jackson instead, I would have 0.3 in the bank, and I can use that to upgrade Mikalenko to, let's say, Kirkes, and I think that looks fairly decent, at least for the next 5-6 game weeks. Up until game week 21, I'd say Bournemouth have pretty decent fixtures, so that could work fairly well. But yeah, I think if I was doing it this week, these moves, we'll do Veltman to Kirkes. It's just a shame I can't afford Kirkes from the get-go, really. In terms of replacing Mikalenko, he'd be the ideal sell. Veltman, if he does start, I'd be happy to obviously give him a punt So I might end up going for something like this you know, in Gameweek 15, just buying 2 Chelsea players and tripling up on them. It's not really what I want to do. Palmer or Saka captain? From those two, I'd lean towards Palmer right now. I want to sell Kulusevski, so Matoma or Bowen. I'd go for Bowen. Virgil to Gvardiol. I'd keep Van Dijk if possible, but Gvardiol's a good transfer. He's got a lot of options there. Drop backup goalkeeper, I really don't think that's a priority, mate. I've already got Raya in goal. As long as he stays fit, I'm absolutely fine there. My defensive line is, you know, a shambles. And I also want to chase upside in the positions that really matter, like the midfield and forward line. Raya hasn't been brilliant this season, at least since Game Week 4, but he has picked up in the last 3 game weeks in particular, and Arsenal are on good, you know, in good form, so I'm not sure that's the case. Imagine Gabriel's being benched, Mikalenko not playing. That's my issue, and also Veltman. So that's why, ideally, I'd be looking to sell either Mikalenko or Veltman this week, and yeah, this would make my team look a little bit better. But at the same time, it's another -4 hit for the 3rd consecutive game week, and it involves, yeah, it's just kind of been all over the place because I sold Isak, then he ends up hauling, and obviously I missed Saka's returns in the last couple of weeks, so the timing has been completely out of sync. I'll get back to this very soon and make a final decision because I'll be honest, with only 1 free transfer, it doesn't give me much wiggle room. You could do Semenyo to Rodgers, Wood to Isak. Yeah, that's true. That is true. But Semenyo facing Ipswich Town this week, to sell him for a -4 isn't ideal. And Rodgers could be rotated. If not against Southampton, it could happen later this season. But it's a good suggestion, to be fair, because it also gives me more money to then upgrade my defensive line. It's just, unfortunately, I just feel I need to make a defender transfer this week, unless Gabriel and Veltman, you know, there's positive updates about both of them, and I know for sure they're going to start. And in that case, I'd be very happy to focus elsewhere. Captain Haaland or Stay or Palmer, they're both good choices, but I'd rather go for Palmer right now. Delap or Wood. This week, it would be Delap. Best defender long term, Gabriel if he's fit. If not, you're looking at Timber. Play Gabriel, Vandenberg, Nuri, and Inshallah. Well, yeah, I'd personally start Veltman if I didn't make a defender transfer. And I've got Vandenberg to come in just in case. I just don't like, you know, the fact that if Gabriel and Veltman are out, worst case scenario, I'm down to 2 defenders and 10 men. That's just not good enough. Then again, though, as long as I can get the hauls in the midfield and forward line, I could still get a green arrow. It's just not what you want to do. Veltman is available. It looks like he'll be in the squad, but I don't know if he starts. That's my issue. But a lot of Brighton fans are clamouring for the Dutchman to return. He gives them stability on the right-hand side. So I'm hoping that he is available and starts against Leicester. Then, all of a sudden, I'm actually very happy about my team. Hi Dylan, who to captain? I covered. Want to do Mbeumo to Clover. Should I do pre or post deadline? Probably post deadline. I think Mbeumo can do well against Newcastle. I said before last week that against either Aston Villa or Newcastle, I'm backing Mbeumo to do something. So let's see what he can do. I'll try to do a quick free hit draft, but I can't guarantee you anything, mate, because there's a lot of questions coming in. Which player are you captaining for challenge? Watkins. Which 2 to start of 8 Nuri, Hall, Van Heck, Robinson? I would start Van Heck and probably 8 Nuri. Play Sanchez or Sells? I think both concede. But Forest might have a better chance of a clean sheet, oddly enough. Yeah, I still think United will win. I'm going to go for Sanchez. Mbeumo and Raul to Isak and Enzo, 6 to 7 million mid for free. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. You're probably looking at Semenyo, Mitoma, Rodgers in terms of that midfielder. Haaland's a good captaincy option. He's in my top 5 again. I think he'll score against Palace. I'm just not sure if he will get a brace or a hat-trick, or at least get those goal contributions required to outscore Palmer, Saka, and all these other options. My personal favourite option this week is Watkins, by the way, for the captaincy. Yeah, Mbeumo has been poor recently, but I just feel it just needs a slight tweak in terms of his positioning in the game and the tactics, and he can get back to his best. And he's got a great home record, only 1 blank this season. What differential punts do you like for the next 3-4 fixtures? Odegaard, De Bruyne, Jarrod Bowen. In the defensive line, you might be looking at Kerkez. Up front, I think Evanilson would be right up there. Palace 1, City 1, hopefully. And City do tend to struggle against Crystal Palace, and it's not an easy stadium to go to, but I do think they get the job done. Should I go for an Aston Villa defender? Who? I personally wouldn't. I think Luka Dean's the best one if he starts, but there is the possibility of rotation. Do you see a route at the moment to get in Haaland later on, or is that not on the table anymore? At the moment, no. If I'm being honest, it would require selling Salah probably, or at least selling one of Palmer or Saka and then Gabriel maybe. I'm not so sure if I want to do that, if I'm being honest. And my issue with Haaland isn't that he's a terrible asset. It's the fact that he doesn't justify 50 million. He needs to score a brace or a hat-trick in virtually every single game to justify a spot in my team. And I felt that when I had him, I was really over-reliant on him to get a good game week. And after the first 3 matches, when I triple captain, I was around 200,000. When Haaland's form started to dip around game week 6, so did my FPL team. Don't sell Veltman yet. It's possible he comes from the bench and gets 1 point. It's better than 0. Yeah, but that's not really what I want. I want to get at least a chance of a clean sheet, basically. But yeah, ideally I wouldn't sell Veltman. I agree with you. It would be Mikalenko or Van den Berg, and then Aït-Nouri in a couple of weeks' time. But, I made the mistake buying Veltman. If I bought Van Heck, it'd look a bit rosier. I'm just hoping that they kind of, do everything possible to ensure that Veltman starts this game and really bolsters that Brighton defensive line, because then I think a clean sheet is possible against Leicester, if not in the coming weeks until Game Week 19, when the fixtures turn for the worst there for Brighton. So, yeah, that's how things are looking right now. Not too great. But yeah, once again, I go back to it. If I really want to buy Isak again, I need to take a hit because I'm 0.1 million off. So that could be my excuse to then make a defender transfer as well. It's just, unfortunately, I don't really have much to play with here. So I've got the exact funds to buy Jackson and Colwill. And that's something I've kind of thought about today after the official postponement of Liverpool versus Everton. So I'm probably going to put a poll out and then decide later on, to be honest. We've still got an hour left. If points will add, will Everton and Liverpool play later? Not for this game week, no. So they will play, it looks like game week 25 or 33 is when this game will move into, the Merseyside Derby. So then in one of those game weeks, we'll have a double for Everton and Liverpool, and that's where they will basically have 2 opportunities to get a good FPL score for the game week. But for this week, no. They won't be added retrospectively. That means it's a blank game week. Liverpool and Everton won't play, and you'll want to bench them or at least find some reinforcements for your 50-man squad. Advise Dylan start 1, bench 1. Let's see what we have. Iwobi, Pedro. I'd start Joao Pedro this week. Jackson Cole sounds better, not going to lie. Yeah, long term it looks really good. It's just this week, buying Cole for a hit, not great, but yeah, I think you are right. I really do. I think it just looks really good for the long term. A sea of green for Chelsea. And the only kind of downside of Jackson is the yellow card risk. Because apart from that, I think he's a brilliant option. But yeah, I'm just a bit gutted about Isak. If I kept him against Liverpool, obviously would have enjoyed an 11-pointer. Then you've got Brentford, great fixture for him. And then Leicester City, Ipswich Town. But I do think Jackson has even better fixtures longer term. So this is what I'm kind of leaning towards. Selling Mikalenko for Colwill and then buying Jackson. So that's where my head's at the moment. I might even look at a different defender right now to possibly start this week and then buy Colwill next week or the week after with a rosier fixture and a much better chance of a clean sheet. And it'd probably be either Aït-Nouri or Veltman making way in that scenario. I'll be honest though, with this Christmas period and games every 2 or 3 days, you ideally want to have as many good options as possible. And in my opinion, Van den Berg is completely useless, really. If he can get you 1 or 2 points, you'd probably be happy with that, considering Brentford's defensive returns this season. So, yeah, if I had enough money, Van den Berg would be first on the chopping block, even over Mikalenko, who has horrible fixtures for the next 4 game weeks. Aina or Hall, I'd go for Hall. My boy Nico will score a hat-trick. He did it last season, so why not? Timber will always start. He's not going to start every single Premier League match from now until the end of the season, but you don't necessarily need that. I think his minutes will be managed to have him ready to start most games, if not all, in this hectic Christmas period, but he's not absolutely nailed on, if that's what you're asking. I'm on wildcard. Should I do Watkins and Iwobi, or Jackson and Johnson, or Isak and Semenyo? That is a really tough question because Iwobi has been outstanding this season. Watkins has the best fixture this week. And to be fair, Newcastle, Chelsea, and Aston Villa all have positive fixtures long term, but Chelsea have the very best. At the moment, I'd lean towards Jackson and Johnson, as described in my best wildcard team video only yesterday, but it's a very, very close call. They're all great duos. Fabianski or Flecken, says Paul. I would start Fabianski. Radovan says, I have 2 free transfers and I want to give one more chance to Haaland. I'm thinking in Boomer to Semenyo Mitoma and Keane to Timber. Great transfers in, to be fair. I have a slight preference for Semenyo, and I can see why you want to give Haaland another chance. I mean, he's always got that possibility of scoring a brace or a hat-trick in any given game. But yeah, I think that ultimately works. I do think Mbeumo can perform against Newcastle, but you can't have it all your way. And if you keep Haaland, you're going to have to make some sacrifices in terms of budget anyway. And Mbeumo is sellable now. So start Colwell or Vandenberg or Dibbling. Difficult one. I mean, Dibbling is a very exciting talent, but he's only got 1 goal this season. That's about it. He's really just a 4.5 million enabler. But against Aston Villa, I think Southampton could score, and Dibbling would be at the heart of it, or you'd like to think so. I'd definitely bench Vandenberg, by the way. That's my personal take. So I'd start either Colwill or Dibbling. It's just, I think Spurs will score, and then you're relying on Colwill scoring a goal, which is very rare. I'm probably going to say Dibbling reluctantly, but I'm not expecting anything from any of them, to be honest. Hey Dylan, Doku or Kudus for this week? Kudus. With Salah not playing, who do I play? Johnson or Rico Lewis? I'd go for the upside of Johnson. I think Chelsea will concede. I have to play Raul after the Liverpool match being cancelled. Should I go for a -4 and get Jackson or Isak instead? Yes. 100%. They're both great moves. For this week, I prefer Isak. Long term, I'd probably suggest Jackson, but it's honestly very close. The yellow card also balances things out a little bit. When I say yellow card, the suspension risk for Jackson. 1 more yellow before Gameweek 19, and he does miss a Premier League game. I think people who kept hoping Mbeumo will be rewarded heavy this weekend. I hope so. And I'm not sure if he hauls massively, but I do think he gets something. I'm quite positive about that. I think Brentford Newcastle could be high scoring, and yeah, I think both teams will score. And Mbeumo and Isak will be the kind of 2 key players, I think, in this particular game. Yeah, De Bruyne is really good for this week. If he does start, I think he will, but I couldn't guarantee it. Top 5 midfielders ranked under 7 million. Under 7 million. Difficult one, to be fair. Difficult, but I would probably go for Rodgers first, Semenyo second. It's very close between those 2, I think. I mean, at the moment, you have to say Iwobi. It's just facing Arsenal and Liverpool next. That would kind of push him down towards the bottom of that list. So, yeah, Rodgers first, Semenyo second. I'm going to go for Kudus third, at least for the next 4 game weeks. Mitoma fourth, and I'll probably go for... Yeah, I think I'd go for Amad Diallo in 5th right now, and then Iwobi just about misses out. He's been brilliant. Hi, mate, take out Rodgers for Semenyo? No. You keep your Aston Villa assets. It's going to be 5-5 for the Chelsea game and Anthony Taylor man of the match. Bench who? Mazraoui, Lewis, Greaves, Colwill, have Sanchez and Sells. Out of those players, I'd look to bench Colwill, actually. And yeah, you might want to start Sanchez out of the other 2. With Liverpool and Everton blanks, my team is Fabianski, O'Shea, Kerkez, Borro, Palmer, Enzo, Iwobi, Saka, Strand Larsen, Watkins, Captain, Isak. You've got a brilliant front line, by the way, with Watkins and Isak. I used my free transfer to get Iwobi in this week. Well, Iwobi did very well against Brighton, but he does face Arsenal, his former club, this week, and then Liverpool. So I don't think the timing is great. But look, if he continues that form from the other day, you could be in for another massive haul there. But yeah, you've got some very interesting differentials, I have to say. I'm not sure what your bench is, but if you're relying on Fabianski week in, week out, I'd definitely look at upgrading that. The same goes for your defensive line. Does Enzo start? I think so. Look, Enzo's been really good recently. I think he's got, what was it, 1 goal, 8 assists in his last 6 games for Chelsea. I might have got that slightly wrong, but, you know, he's been brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Even for Argentina, he got an assist in one of the recent matches against Paraguay. So, yeah, he's been in really good form. I just still prefer Amad Diallo and these more offensive options at a similar price tag. Not to mention, at the moment, Rodgers, Semenyo, and Iwobi, up until this point of the season, have been really impressive. Will Rodgers start is another question I just saw. Yes, I think he does. Daka's minutes, I couldn't guarantee you, to be quite honest. He's a punt. That's really what it comes down to. He's a punt. I'd rather go for Buonanotte. He's another budget midfielder I really like. He'd be my preference. For Daka, I'm not too interested. Any possibility of playing the Derby tomorrow? No, I don't think so. They'll move it to Gameweek 25 or 33. Remember, Liverpool play midweek in the Champions League, so there's no chance that's going to happen. Would you triple captain and bench Andy? Well, what? Oh, would you triple captain FPL Dylan? Thank you very much. Cheers for Roger's answer. Hope you have a good one, bro. Likewise, Ademak, good luck in a hectic Game Week 15. Best defender under 6 million to buy in this game week, Timber. Yeah, I think long term it just really works well for you. I think Fulham could score against Arsenal, but Timber is just a certain forget option. Nelson or Robertson will double up on Saka all game, and he only has 2 goals, 1 assist in 6 games against Fulham. Yeah, but Saka did score in the last meeting, but then he did nothing afterwards, and Arsenal were terrible. I also think Arsenal were just completely off it last season against Fulham in both matches. They should have won at the Emirates, and then to put in that performance at Craven Cottage was pathetic, to be quite honest with you. But generally speaking, Arsenal have a phenomenal record against Fulham. They pretty much always beat them, and they need to do the same to put the pressure on Liverpool this weekend. Jackson captain, nailed for 90 and going up against Spurs high line without Van der Ven or Vicario, and some of the best creative players behind him. Really good shout and analysis. I think that's a decent punt. Jackson's, maybe not easily, but he is in my top 10 captaincy options. I still would rank Palmer higher, but I understand what you're saying, and Jackson could be the main beneficiary of the Spurs' defensive woes. The man, the myth, the legend says, Hola Dylan, ¿qué piensas sobre cuál podría ser el chip misterioso? Tío, la verdad no tengo idea de qué va a ser. Quizás van a hacer algo como All Out Attack Chip. Así que puedes jugar con 8 atacantes, 5 mediocampistas y 3 delanteros. Pero te digo la verdad, no tengo idea. Y veremos el mes que viene, en enero. Y quizás habrá alguna noticia antes, en diciembre. Hi Dylan, start 1 Greaves, Howard Bellis, Robinson. Probably Greaves. Hi Dylan, do I send Haaland to Isak and Mbuma to Saka? I'd do it. Now, selling Mbuma and Haaland can always backfire. They've been really consistent this season, despite the recent blips, but generally speaking, they are good choices. So it can backfire, but I'd do it. Captain Haaland or Saka? I'd have a slight preference for Saka. Chelsea could surprise clean sheet-wise 2-0. Yeah, maybe. The thing is with Chelsea, their record against the Big Six has been very poor, especially this season. That's something they need to improve, and that's why I don't think they'll win the title. They can put pressure on Liverpool, and I think they'll go on a decent run until essentially Game Week 22, 23. But I think ultimately that will be their undoing. And defensively, I know they're just behind Arsenal in terms of goals conceded, but I do think there's a massive gap in both defences, and we'll see that over the coming months. But maybe you're right. Maybe in this game, with Spurs being so out of it, you just don't know what Spurs you're going to get. Saka or Palmer captain? I'm leaning towards Palmer at the moment. I would not be dropping Palmer, Jeremy. No chance. 72 points in FPL Challenge. Nice. Really good. 61 in FPL. Yeah, I did terribly in FPL Challenge last week. I forgot to make changes after all the rotation. No, Liverpool-Everton will not play this game week. That's why it's a blank. It's in the title as well. This game could go into Game Week 25 or 33, according to Ben Crellin, who is very reliable when it comes to scheduling doubles and blank game weeks. So be sure to check that out. I'll be looking at that myself, maybe even now, just to see exactly what he said. But this will not... Liverpool and Everton will not play this game week because we do have Champions League games in midweek. So there is no chance of Liverpool playing on the Tuesday or Wednesday, for example, because they do play against Girona. And I'll be covering that in the Champions League content this weekend. So we've got 50 minutes left until the deadline. Will I not make late, or should I say last-minute transfers? Who knows at this point. But let's quickly check what Ben Crellin said exactly, but I'm fairly sure it was reported quite accurately. Okay, yeah, here he said. So, yeah, kind of obvious stuff. So the fixture will be rescheduled to form a double game week later this season, no earlier than game week 19. That's what he said. So most likely we'll see Liverpool versus Everton form a double game week in either game week 24, 25, or 33. So yeah, thank you to Mbuma is finished on YouTube to for the update and pointing me in that direction. Just captain Saka instead of Bowen. Your arguments convinced me. Yeah, look, you made some good points about Saka's record against Fulham, and Fulham did very well against Arsenal last season. But I also think Arsenal created a lot of chances in those games, and in the home match, Saka did score a penalty, and I think he got a double-digit haul, despite also giving the ball away for Fulham's opening goal. So look, there's always pros and cons, and I don't think Saka is an outstanding captaincy option against Fulham this week, but he is one of the better ones, in my opinion. I'm still waiting a bit to make transfers. Yeah, I tend to do the same thing, as you well know. Is selling Mbuma to Bowen a good move? Yes, long-term it is a good move. It's just, this week I'm a bit unsure, especially for a -4 hit. For free, I'd consider it, but I would not be doing it for a -4. Definitely not for extra hits as well. Should I take ahead Salah to Saka and next week Bruno to Salah? Yeah, that looks pretty good actually. Yeah. I'd probably do that actually, yeah. Start all three, Joao Pedro, Cunha, Jackson, or bench any for Mbuma. I'd consider benching Cunha for Mbuma this week, but that is a difficult one. Ideally, you'd start all four of them, and I might have the exact same front line as what you discussed, all in my starting 11 actually. I got a bye in the overall cup this game week. Nice. Nothing to do there for you then. Sell one Strand Larsen, Delap, or Tielemans. I'd rather sell Tielemans. It's just he's facing Southampton this week, so the timing is a little bit off. Jackson scored a hat-trick last season against Spurs. Yes, he did. My only concern with Jackson is the yellow cards. And I do think Isak is a better captaincy option this week against Brentford. I think that game could be very high scoring. And to be fair, you could say the same about Spurs-Chelsea, but yeah, it's just the yellow card suspension risk that puts me off Jackson a little bit. But I do like the fact he got a full rest against Southampton. So yeah, coming back down to it, let's bloody make these moves, please. So keeping Mbuma for now, I think that is my play. Eventually I might sell him, maybe even downgrade to get a bit of money in the bank and then upgrade my defensive line. So that is what I'm currently thinking. So ideally I'd sell Mikalenko this week, who has poor fixtures. He also was going to face Liverpool at home anyway. Colwell's brilliant long-term games, but let's see what other 4-point family and defenders I could go to. Unfortunately, Kirkes is just above the price threshold. Otherwise, I would have probably bought him and Jackson this week and made it quite simple. So, looking at 4-point family and defenders, Colwell for me is the outstanding choice. He is a bit boring, but, better than nothing, I guess. Not keen on Wan-Bissaka, and I discussed this in the week before last, basically, in FPL terms. I'm looking down at the others, and I'm not really fond of them. I mean, Lewis Hall, even against Brentford this week, not really backing him for clean sheet. Then, there's some good games long-term, to be fair. Leicester and Ipswich Town coming up are also pretty decent, but it's just not... Yeah, I'd rather just buy Colwell in that case. Lisandro Martinez, he's now back again from suspension, facing Forest, but then it's City, Bournemouth, Wolves. I mean, good fixtures overall, but not the greatest, and United are a bit up and down. I could just buy Van Heck and triple up on Brighton, but yeah, I just don't want to do that, if I'm being honest. So yeah, I think I might just buy Colwell. I think I might just buy Colwell, just in case. I mean, the thing is, this is my problem. I'm taking a -4 hit for a defender, but if Gabriel Veltman and Aït-Nouri play, I'm basically taking a -4 hit for a bench player. It does set me up for the long term, though. And even if Colwell does start for me in place of Veltman, to name one particular, case study, he's playing Tottenham away, and I'm not expecting a Chelsea clean sheet. So I'm a bit of a pickle this week with my defensive line. It's been a long time coming. I need to address the situation, and unfortunately, my transfers in this position just haven't really worked. Buying Aït-Nouri a couple of weeks ago, only one return. I bought Veltman just for him to miss out with a sudden injury out of nowhere. So it's been a bit unfortunate, but ultimately I made a wrong call by buying Veltman, and that has, really caused issues. It's been a domino effect, causing a few issues later down the line. Yeah, Watkins captain is good. He's probably my favourite this week. Isak is in my top 3 as well. Maybe Palmer slightly ahead of him, but that's definitely subjective. Isak or Saka captain? Isak. McNeil to Semenyo for -4 or play Vandenberg? I take the -4 for Semenyo, I think. Apologies. I think that's what I do. Should I sell Smith for McNeil, Garnacho, Haaland for Palmer, Saka, Rodgers, Joao Pedro and get a -8? I also have Mbeumo. Yeah. The only problem I have with that is selling Haaland as part of a -8, but good transfers overall. Should I do Mbeumo to Semenyo and Mikalenko to Trent or Whistler to Joao Pedro? Don't buy Trent. Liverpool are not playing this week. They have a blank. The Merseyside Derby is postponed due to adverse weather conditions. I'd rather do Whistler to Joao Pedro for a hit. Then again, there is a slight concern about Joao Pedro's minutes this week. So I think you'd probably... What I'd do is maybe... I'd just do Whistler to Joao Pedro and keep Mbeumo for now. That'd be my preference. Would you do Johnson to Saka or just hold him? I'd buy Saka at some stage. I'd lean towards yes, but I still think Johnson's a decent hold. Will Gabriel play? I think so, and I really hope that's the case, both for Arsenal's sake and my FPL team. I think Greaves will play. I don't like the -4 hit for Colwill. We say no for the -4 for Colwill. Yeah, I get that. I get that. Maybe I should just save this transfer for next week. It's just, I'm looking at it, and once again, you know, Mikalenko's out. He's not going to play this week. Aït-Nouri and Gabriel, well, I say Gabriel. Aït-Nouri will definitely play this week, unless something happens now. Vandenberg will also play, but ideally I don't want him in my starting 11. He's my bench cover, just in case. But my problem is, if Gabriel and Veltman are out, and I'm down to 10 men and 2 defenders, that's my issue. But yeah, for free I can buy Nicholas Jackson for Chris Wood and start him. Salah on the bench. That looks like the best course of action for my team this week. I don't have enough money to go for Ollie Watkins, and of course I sold Isak recently. And part of it was to really fund Saka, and it made it possible. It's difficult for me to have Saka and Isak in the same squad. It would require downgrading Mbeumo, who is sellable in the coming weeks anyway. But yeah, I think Jackson will come in against Tottenham. It's just, if it wasn't for that postponement, you know, for Liverpool-Everton, I could have even rolled this week, you know, if I had more positive updates about my defenders as well. Then have 2 free transfers in Gameweek 16, then reassess. But ultimately, the -4 hits in the last couple of weeks have put me in a very poor position in terms of flexibility of movement and transfers. But yeah, I think Jackson in is definitely on the agenda. To buy Isak, unfortunately, it would be a -4. Konsa's good for this week. On paper, I just don't trust Aston Villa defensively. I've said that from pre-season. I don't like them from a defensive perspective, and they don't offer enough going forwards. Only Luca Dean, and he is one of the biggest FPL trolls of all time. I think I'm going to save my 2 free transfers to make it free next week and just start Collins, Hall, Greaves, and Mbeumo. That's fair enough. I'd rather start Lewis, Hall, or Greaves over Collins. But yeah, I think that's a sensible approach. Yeah, Salah to KDB 1 week punt. It works well. Now, it's risky. There's a reason why I haven't gone for KDB all season. But if you've got Palmer and Saka already, and you're in a position where you can sell Salah for 1 week, then bring him back, I'd probably go to Kevin De Bruyne. Hi, really in doubt, should I sell Mbeumo and Trent/Gabriel and get Saka plus Dean Colwill -4 hit? Not too sure about that, mate. I think Mbeumo to Saka is completely fine, and I know that you're selling a premium defender to make that possible, but Gabriel could be available very soon. If not in Gameweek 15, then you're talking about Gameweek 16, and in my opinion, he becomes the best defender in the game. Trent will have a double Gameweek later this season, and I think Liverpool are worth holding. You know, Trent, Salah, Van Dijk, and Gomez, they're definitely worth holding on to if possible. But you are buying Saka for a hit, and I think Dean, for example, this week, if he starts, has a good chance of a return against Southampton, but I don't trust Aston Villa defensively, and Colwill will be the better long-term investment. Best 4 million defender? Jacob Greaves, I guess. I mean, they're pretty terrible. Pedro Porro or Aït-Nouri? Aït-Nouri. Should I play both Konsa and Luca Dean this week? Yeah, probably. I just would go away from the Aston Villa defensive double-up in the coming weeks. I don't trust them defensively. 1's bad enough. I think 2 is terrible long-term. Quick question, Dylan. Would you do Mbeumo and Wood to Isak and Semenyo for a -4? Yes, I would. I do like Mbumo for this week, but he is sellable, and I think buying Isak, maybe even captaining him, and then having Semenyo looks pretty good. Jackson or Isak? For this week, Isak, but long term is close. I'd slightly lean towards Jackson. He's a little bit cheaper. He's got even better fixtures. He's not as injury prone, so that's 3 reasons. And the only downside that would kind of go in favour of Isak is the fact that there is no suspension risk with the Swede, whilst Jackson is on 4 yellow cards. But I'm going to lean towards Jackson. So do we bench Salah? Yes. 8 Nuri or Mazraoui? I'd go for Mazraoui. No need for caps or spamming, mate. Start Fabianski or Sanchez? Oh, Sanchez, sorry. Fabianski this week. Start 2, Hall, Dean or 8 Nuri? I would go for Dean and 8 Nuri. Hi Dylan, do you keep Salah in your team or sub out? What is happening with that game then? The game is postponed. So what I've done with Salah is bench him. I've also got Mikalenko there. So as you can see, I'm down to, well, Vali Marson doesn't even count. So I'm basically down to 12 players in my squad with 2 yellow flags. So I'm looking at buying Jackson or Isak for Chris Wood. And I think at the moment, I'll just buy Jackson and then bolster my defensive line in the coming weeks. So I could do Mikalenko to Colwill in Gameweek 16 as one particular example. And then, yeah, reassess from that point onwards. But, yeah, I think with Salah, you keep. That is my main advice. If you're in a position with so many free transfers and you want to take a punt, I think Kevin De Bruyne would be a great choice this week. But ultimately, do not sell Salah if you can't buy him back because of the value to have tied up in him and limited money in the bank. From those 3 players, I'd be tempted to captain Palmer at the moment, but Saka is a great choice, and Jackson scored a hat-trick against Spurs last season. Captain Palmer or Haaland? Palmer. Close call, though. Aina or 8 Nuri? 8 Nuri. Sanchez or Henderson? Sanchez. Akraf says Fabianski, Gabriel, Mazraoui, Greaves, Saka, Palmer, Rodgers and Bumo, Cunha, Wissa, Hallen, bench, Sanchez, Garnacho, Rico Lewis and Hall with 2 free transfers. Do I roll again? It's a good squad, to be fair, for this week. I don't think you need to make a transfer. The only downside, if you could say that, is you're starting Greaves, but I mean, with the defensive frailties this week with yellow flags and the suspensions, or should I say more so the postponement, I think you could roll. I really think that. Now, just looking back at it, you got 2 free transfers. I don't know how much money you have in the bank, but if you could upgrade Wissa or Mbumo, I mean, you've got Saka Palm already, that's fine. You don't have Salah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think maybe roll and then buy Salah in Gameweek 16. That would be my advice. Mikalenko to Gabriel for a hit. I'd do it. There is a yellow flag and there is a slight concern, but I think he does start. And long term, that hit should pay off, unless the injury turns out to be serious, which I really hope isn't the case. Play Joao Pedro or Mbumo. Slight preference for Joao Pedro, but the minutes are a concern. Star 8 Nuri or Greaves. 8 Nuri. Yeah, Bruno captain against Forest would be my top 10. You just have to hope he doesn't play in a deeper role for most of the match and he can get into advanced positions, making those late runs into the box. I do prefer Palm and Haaland for the captaincy, but Bruno's a good shout. I think United will win, maybe 2-1, 3-1, and I think Fernandes will be instrumental. Solanke or Semenyo? Semenyo. Anthony puts his team, suggest me some transfers. I don't know how much money you have in the bank. So that is a bit of a... I'm kind of in the dark there. I would look at possibly selling Mbumo in the coming weeks, but you could keep him certainly for Gameweek 15. And I'd even be tempted to make a forward move that could include the lap. So if you've got enough money, I'd definitely recommend the lap to Jackson, Isak or Watkins, but I'm not so sure if you've got the money. Gabriel news, not really anything. Arteta said that he's still a doubt. I think yesterday, Calafiori and Gabriel weren't spotted in training, but they were inside, so indoors whilst the Sky were filming, doing kind of individual training there. I think Gabriel will play, but it isn't clear-cut. Hall or Lewis? Lewis. KDB cap, another one who's up there, maybe in my top 10. I think if the KDB starts, he'd be a very enticing option. And I think he does start, but I'm not fully convinced. Yeah, best captaincy options now that Salah's out. As mentioned before, Watkins would be top for me. I'd probably look at Palmer second. Then I think it goes down to Isak, Saka, Haaland, Fernandes, Jackson. That's kind of like my top 7 right now. It's an interchangeable list. It's very close between some of these players. If Salah was available, he'd be top for me. Sells or Fabianski? Fabianski this week. Yeah, once again. -4 for Gabriel. I'd do it, but there is a risk with the yellow flag. Gobbins says, hi Dylan, should I transfer out Solanke for Isak or Watkins? I prefer Isak long term. This week it's close, but Watkins does have the edge. I think Isak overall though. I got 0.8 million with that squad. Yeah, that's the problem. I think I'd probably roll in your case. Captain Isak, KDB, Saka or Palmer. Very close between Isak and Palmer. I'll be honest, if I bought Isak this week, or if I had kept him from last week, I probably would captain him actually. It's really close though, really close. Saka or Palmer captain and why? Probably Palmer captain. I think Fulham are a better team than Tottenham at this moment in time. I also think the Arsenal-Fulham game will be a bit cagier compared to the Spurs-Chelsea match. And Palmer got a goal and an assist last season at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in a 4-1 victory for Chelsea. But look, there are pros and cons for both players. You could argue Saka is in better form over the last 5 game weeks, but Palmer in the last 3 in particular has pretty much matched Saka, if not outscored him. So it's a close call. I also think, generally speaking, Palmer is a better option for captaincy because of the high ceiling, but Saka has shown recently he can get massive hauls from time to time. I was going to bring in Trent this week. Do I do it anyway or go for someone else like Saliba? Or just start Aït-Nouri, Dean and Hall? I mean, I like Saliba, Gabriel, Timber. I'd recommend an Arsenal defender if you don't have it already. But if you really want Trent, I think the plan is to just start what you have and then buy Trent next week. Don't buy Trent now, though. Mbeumo to Bowen. Yeah, good transfer, but I wouldn't do it for a hit. Bowen as a differential captain. Yeah, I'm not completely against it, but West Ham are so inconsistent. Best Arsenal defender is Gabriel. If you're unsure about him starting, which I get, you'd probably go for Timber. Keep Jackson or transfer in Watkins or Isak. Definitely keep Jackson. Rodgers or Wood? Rodgers. Yeah, keep Jackson, I agree. Gvardio, Aït-Nouri, Saliba, Gay, Hall, any free to start. Saliba, Gvardio, and Aït-Nouri. Akshat says start 2, Strand Larsen, Delap, Tielemans, Rodgers, Cucurella. Strand Larsen and Rodgers. Best Barco replacement. Wow, Barco in Gameweek 15. What are we talking about? 4 million defenders here? Otherwise, you're kind of limited to Jacob Greaves. Semenyo or Rodgers? Rodgers this week. Bowen captain. Not for me, but he is a good choice. He was really good against Leicester City. If he plays like that again, I think he'll haul massively and get a goal and an assist. Have Palmer captain and Saka vice. Worried both London games get cancelled tomorrow. Would Cunha vice for Monday be an option? Yeah. But then again, that's another game in a London stadium, mate. So, this is the problem. We could see a domino effect and so many games postponed. At the moment, I haven't really heard any murmurings of matches being cancelled except the Merseyside Derby from Friday night. And of course, that game has been officially postponed. But with every other match, I haven't seen anything that kind of suggests there will be more postponements, but it is possible. Jackson will do well against Spurs. Yeah, if the game goes ahead, I think he will. Is Son captainable? I mean, yes, it's a home game. Spurs can score 3 or 4 goals. I don't think they will against Chelsea, but they have done it in home matches this season, and Son has been really at the heart of it. But he's so inconsistent, and the only kind of upside I'd say is that he got a bit of a rest against Bournemouth on the bench, but he hasn't really been good this season. Welcome, Safir. Foden to Bone for a -4. Yeah, I guess so. Foden is ill. We're not sure if he's going to play against Crystal Palace. Probably. Bench 1, Colwill, De Ligt, Gabriel, Timber. I'd bench Colwill. Captain Jackson for differential. You're really on the Jackson wave. Fair enough. Start Diallo or buy Rodgers. Start Diallo. Who would you start between Rodgers and Semenyo, Dylan? Rodgers, Dylan. Hi, Dylan. Woodford versus Lewis versus Van Heck. Who should I bench? I'd probably still bench Van Heck. Best defense under 4.6 million. Colwill, long term. For this week, I'll be honest, looks a bit grim, but you're looking at an Aston Villa defender like Konsa. But I wouldn't buy them long term. Yeah, a lot of Bowen captaincy shouts this week, fair enough. Should I captain Watkins or Palmer? Watkins for me, but they're both good choices. Switch Salah to KDB for this week. Should I risk and captain KDB? I'm not against it. He's not my favourite option, just to be quite clear, but if he plays 60, 70 minutes, he's got the potential to score a big, get a goal and an assist. He did it back in April against Crystal Palace. So he could definitely get a big haul, but I still prefer Isak, Watkins, Palmer, Saka, Haaland, and a few others I've mentioned before. Start 1-8 Nuri, Lewis or Colwill. I'd start Lewis. Enzo or Kluivert in for Smith Rowe or Garnacho. I think Smith Rowe is still a better FPL option than Garnacho, but the next two games are Arsenal and Liverpool, which is far from ideal. And this week you'd rather sell Smith Rowe, so it's all a matter of timing. I do prefer Kluivert over Enzo Fernandez, though. Are we sure Isak is a good captaincy option this week? Brentford have a scary home record this season, and I know Isak is in great form right now, but I've kept Watkins captain over him. I also prefer Watkins captain over Isak, but Isak has a great record against Brentford. And also Brentford, despite their great home record, they do concede a lot of goals. Only one clean sheet so far this season, which came against Everton. So, look, you make a good point. Maybe Newcastle will struggle, and away from home, Newcastle generally are quite poor, hence the inconsistencies we see with Isak and most of their FPL assets. But I'm still very bullish on Isak. He's ranked very highly for me, probably in my top 3, but you make a good case against him, and I do think Watkins is the better choice in Gameweek 15. I'd probably keep Welbeck personally, and I did say this recently. Would you replace Welbeck with Evanilson? That is a good question. I think with the yellow flag, there's definitely the temptation to do it. But if you've got good squad depth this week, my advice would be to just keep Welbeck and start him, and then reassess next week. Should I do Mbeumo to Bowen or Mbeumo to Matoma and Archer to Vanilson? I'd probably do Mbeumo to Matoma and Archer to Vanilson, but I've said this all along. I think Mbeumo could do well today. Yes, I'll have a chip on his shoulder against Arsenal. He'll have that motivation, so you could be right. I hope that's not the case. Captain Haaland or Saka? Saka just about. Captain Saka or Palmer? I'd probably go for Palmer. Kirkes for Mikalenko. Currently have Lewis, Gabriel, and 8 Nuri. Yeah, I wish I could do that myself. I'd probably do it this week, even for a -4 hit. Your defensive line is good, though. It's just, if Gabriel misses out, then yeah, you'd probably need that coverage just in case. Buy Isak for Solanke and Cole for Aina for a -4. I wouldn't buy Cole for Aina this week for a hit. Just do it next week for free, mate. No need for caps or spamming. Just saying. -8, Welbeck to Evanilson, Foden to Saka, Veltman to O'Shea, get the headaches out. I get that. That makes a lot of sense. It's just I'm not a big fan of O'Shea. Veltman to O'Shea seems like a downgrade. I know Veltman might miss out and not start again, but that's my only problem with your transfers. I'm guessing it's to fund the other moves. Isak versus Palmer captain. I have a slight preference, I think, for Isak, but maybe I'm overstating his importance. Maybe. Captain Palmer or Jackson? Palmer for me, but Jackson was the star last season at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. On a wildcard, keep Van Dijk or sell for Gvardiol. I already have Gabriel and Timber. I'd keep Van Dijk if you can, but it all depends on the rest of your defensive depth. Son to Gordon or just start him? I'd just start Son for now. Alright, so I'll do a quick free hit draft now. It's not going to be great though, because it's literally, kind of thrown at me. And it's going to be something I'm going to do now, in the thick of it, if that's even what I could say. So, in goal, I'll go for Emi Martinez for now. The defensive line, I'll keep Gabriel here, but if you don't want to risk it, I'd suggest Jurriën Timber. I'm also going to go for Josko Gvardiol, and Kirkes could still enter this equation. I'll keep him in for now, and if not, I'll drop him to the bench. So Saka, Palmer. Mbeumo, I have a good feeling about him, but let's go a bit different with this team. So let's go for Watkins here. Joao Pedro, Isak. But yeah, we are going to need to make some adjustments to fund these moves. So I think maybe instead of De Bruyne, we'll have to go for a cheaper player here. So we'll go for Morgan Rogers. Of course, yeah, we've got Salah on the bench as well, to be fair. That obviously plays a big part. So yeah, De Bruyne. Let's backup goalkeeper, not too important, but could just go for Fabianski. Then Mikolenko and Van den Berg. So if Liverpool had their game go ahead, I would have had Salah in there and also a defender like Trent, arguably, if not Gomez/Van Dijk. Now, though, I'll be looking at something like this. Let's see, I'm going to have to think about this. Apologies for that. Still, I mean, I'm not ill anymore per se, but still kind of lingering effects for some reason. Anyways. Not a big fan of most of these defenders this week, if I'm being honest. This looks pretty grim. Might even double up on Arsenal defensively. So let's go for Timber for now. And let's also bring in somebody else to the equation. Maybe Van Heck or Stupinian. Yeah, something like this could work. Yeah, I think I'd go for something like this. And maybe Stupinian for Kerkez. I'm just thinking about about Semenyo here. Not entirely sure. Yeah, I'd like to include Bowen in this game, in this team actually. So then we'll downgrade Timber to a 4 million choice. That could be Greaves and something like this. Now let's try to bring De Bruyne into the equation. I don't want to bench him. Maybe something like that. Maybe Joao Pedro over Rogers. That is definitely up in the air. I'll be honest, in terms of the starting 11, the ones I'm least sure about are the Brighton assets, Estupinian and Joao Pedro. So you could definitely start Joao Pedro, or should I say Rogers over Joao Pedro, but yeah, it's just that final defensive slot I'm not sure about, and that would have been covered by Liverpool. But let me know what you think. It's not perfect. With the captaincy, I'd probably go Watkins and then either Isak or Palmer/Saka as the vice. I think you could captain any of those attackers though. Even Joao Pedro, although he'd be at the bottom of that list. But let me know what you think. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's kind of a quick free hit draft. Start Lewis or Dallo? Good question. Probably Lewis. Pedro captain? Yeah, I'm a bit unsure about his minutes this week. That's why I'm not going to go there, but I was more keen a couple of days ago. Thank you, Chris, for the super chat. And if we get one more, we'll hit our super chat goal and have a longer live stream covering more FPL questions beyond the deadline and also UCL fantasy and other stuff. So 2 free transfers, keep Mbeumo, Bruno one more week or move to who? I'd keep both of them if possible. But if you don't have Saka or Palmer, then yeah, it would be worth selling one of them to make that happen. But otherwise, I'd probably keep both of them. You might be tempted to go for Jarrod Bowen or Kevin De Bruyne. I think that could work really well this week. And I think Bowen's a nice 4-game punt. But West Ham are so inconsistent. And with De Bruyne, he's a brilliant asset, but he's also very inconsistent in terms of minutes. So I'd probably keep what you have for now. There's not really anything to update, mate, on Welbeck. I covered this earlier. Hurstler said that he could be in the squad. There was a positive update about him in the press conference, same with Veltman, but nothing clear-cut. No worries, just Parky. Have a safe flight and enjoy your holiday or business travel. Hopefully it's a holiday for your sake, getting away from this bloody storm. Bench 1, Bowen, Semenyo, Cunha. I would bench... Probably Cunha. That's a difficult one. That really is a difficult one. Now, you know what? I'd bench Semenyo. Just a little bit more. I'd bench Semenyo. Apologies for that. I'd definitely start Jarrod Bowen in all case. Thank you, Ahmed, for helping us reach the super chat goal. I appreciate that and all your contributions to the channel. All the best of luck for Gameweek 15. And since you're a channel member already, check out the UCL Fantasy video if you play UCL Fantasy. for the best limitless team. You can watch that before anybody else. Thank you very much for the support. Is Cunha to Isak essential this game week? No. Do I think it's a good transfer? Yes, I think Isak's a brilliant move, but I wouldn't necessarily sell Cunha just yet. Buy Joao Pedro or Vanelson. If I'm buying one right now, it'd probably be Vanelson. Not by much, though. I'd captain Watkins, mate. Would you rather do Dean or Lewis to Howson to get enough to do McNeil to Matoma? I'd rather sell Lewis because Aston Villa have great fixtures and Luka Dean has the better game this week. And Lewis is more of a rotation risk, although both of them could find themselves rotated either in Gameweek 15 or beyond. So it's a difficult one. Ultimately, I don't like Lewis or Dean that much. I'm not a big fan of Howson despite the goal against Tottenham. And McNeil to Matoma, I think you're on the right track selling McNeil, but I'm not entirely sure about Matoma, to be honest. Thank you, Ahmed. No worries, and thank you very much again. Enzo and Trent to Mbumo and Mikalenko. No. I'm guessing it's the other way around, right? But ultimately, you're including a Liverpool and Everton defender in this transfer list, but the game is postponed. Liverpool versus Everton will not take place. We won't have an early kickoff today, and we could see a double game week. Well, we will see a double game week, but it will be either in game week 24, 25, or game week 33, where Liverpool and Everton will double. So don't include. Basically, I wouldn't be looking to buy an Everton or Liverpool defender right now. Jackson or Watkins? Long-term Jackson, but Watkins for this week. Hi Dylan, start Nuri or Hall. I have Boomer in my 11. I'd go for it, Nuri. Cunha to Jackson or Flecken to Raya or roll transfer? Flecken to Raya. -4 for Haaland and Rodgers for Solanke and Palmer. Next week, Jackson for Wood. Yeah, looks good to me. Interesting, you're buying Haaland now, but that could work fairly well. Wait. Sorry. It looked all good, but I just processed it. Selling Palmer for a hit? Not for me. I personally wouldn't do it. No, I'm not free hitting. I was just showing a free hit team for people. I was asked quite a lot, actually, in this stream, so that's why I'm not free hitting. My plan is to buy the man, the myth, the legend, Jackson, for Chris Wood, because I don't have enough money to buy Isak again, which I was almost going to do shamelessly after selling him last week for a hit. So yeah, Jackson in. Have to pray basically for my defensive line to come through. I mean, surely one of Gabriel Veltman starts, right? And if that's the case, you know, that's fine because then Van der Berg comes in for a 1 point or maybe 0 points, but at least it gives me a chance of something there and have 11 men on the pitch. And hopefully no more postponements. Of course, if you are living under a rock or maybe you're just tuning in, the Merseyside Derby is postponed. So Liverpool versus Everton will not take place in Game Week 15. So Salah, just bench him. I wouldn't be looking to sell him if possible. Transfers are precious at this stage. Yeah, I'm wasting them. I'm just wasting them every single week, which I wouldn't recommend to people. So I think I'm going to buy Jackson. If I had enough money, I'd be very tempted by Isak, especially with this Brentford fixture this week. But yeah, I'm probably going to just buy Jackson and be done with it. I've got 0.2 in the bank. I could make a move like Mikalenko to Colwill, but I think it's the best to probably save the hit and just do it next week because I don't think Chelsea keep a clean sheet against Tottenham Hotspur. So Salah's going to be kept. I'm going to buy Jackson. Hopefully he doesn't get suspended, but if he does, I'll just play my 5 midfielders and 2 forwards next week, and I might even just sell Boomer by that stage and then have a really stacked attacking line, but the defence still needs some improvement. So let's actually make this move now. Chris Wood has been my best asset this season. He might even haul against Man United or in the coming weeks. I don't think the fixtures are terrible from an offensive perspective, but I've said this for weeks now. Forest will drop off. They've got difficult games on paper, and even United, who can be up and down, you'd still expect them to beat Nottingham Forest. So yeah, I'm going to chase the upside of Jackson and start him with Salah on the bench. Hopefully I don't jinx it. I'm just saying it right now, by the way. Jackson's going to get booked against Tottenham. Just watch. I'm just saying it now. We can talk about this in the reaction stream. But I think I'll probably do the reaction stream tonight, which does seem premature, but a lot of people do like the Saturday streams. to kind of have an instant reaction and feedback about what's happened in the Gameweek so far, and then looking ahead to the upcoming deadline. So the plan is to do a reaction stream tonight. Then tomorrow I'll be recording some UCL fantasy videos. That is the plan. And the Limitless team is already available for members and patrons. So if you are signed up, be sure to check that out after the stream is done. Then on Monday, the team selection video will be posted. And also, hopefully, a transfer tips for Game Week 16. That would be. And then all the usual FPL content throughout the week. The best wildcard and team selection videos. Then, of course, more deadline streams and reaction streams. Don't forget, on Tuesday, there will also be a UCL Fantasy deadline stream. I've basically not missed a deadline for UCL Fantasy in the last couple of years. I'm always there making those live streams and videos, so you are up to date with everything you need to know. Now, I think the last thing to decide, apart from should I make a last-minute move, a -4 hit to bolster my defensive line, is who to captain. If I had Isak or Watkins, I think they'd be top of my agenda, and Watkins would be the very best on paper. Palmer, Saka, Joao Pedro, and Jackson are my top options for the captaincy this week. And I'll be honest, don't rule out Mbeumo to come good again against Newcastle. I really wouldn't underestimate him, and I really hope he can deliver for me. But yeah, I think at the moment I'm leaning towards Palmer. I'll put a poll out now since I didn't do it on my YouTube channel yesterday. So let's put this poll out and see what you lot are saying. Hopefully I haven't missed any super chats. I don't think I have, so it's all good. We did hit our super chat goal, so we'll be going a bit longer after the deadline has passed to answer any additional FPL questions and also talk about UCL Fantasy and other stuff. So let's see. Is it a good week to free hit? I think so. It is. Depends a lot on team situation, but I think in some cases it certainly could be. If you have a lot of Liverpool assets, maybe Mikolenko, and then yellow flag players, it could be a nice time. It is a blank game week after all, but admittedly a very small one. So let's put this captaincy poll here. So let's put Saka, Palmer, Watkins, and Isak, I guess. Those would be like the top 4. Although Haaland certainly would have something to say about that. Unfortunately, I can't put more than four options. Otherwise, I'd put even more. Maybe one day YouTube will increase the amount of options in the poll. But yeah, let's go for these. Let's see if I can differentiate them a little bit. There's nothing for a magpie, is there? No, there's nothing. So yeah, I'm going to have to put just white and black here. And then Watkins, purple. That works. All right. So that is the captaincy poll this week. I'm sure there's a lot of different options I can't fit in there, unfortunately. Yeah, but that's what I've gone with. Defenders to bring in. Long-term Colwill. I do think if you're buying a defender this week, I'd be looking at Arsenal. So Gabriel, Timber, Saliba, in that order. Differential midfielders, De Bruyne, Bowen, and there was another one I mentioned earlier, but it's escaping my mind. But yeah, those two would be definitely up there for me. Play Flecken or Fabianski. Fabianski. Should I start ESR or 8 Nuri? I'd start 8 Nuri. Bit of an unpopular opinion. Jesus, said Grom is really on Jackson's wavelength. Are you related to Jackson? Start Colwill or Dibbling? Probably Dibbling, but I think both of them blank. Who would you rather consider over Matoma, 6.5 or below? Kudus would be a consideration. Amad Diallo, Rogers, Semenyo. Thank you, Dylan. Fortunately, I can't speak Arabic. I know people who do, of course, but I just can't do it myself. I barely speak English or Spanish well enough, let alone a third language, which hopefully I can do one day. Bowen captain. Yeah, good choice. Good choice, just not for me, personally. I don't think Veltman starts, to be quite honest with you. So I think what will happen is Gabriel plays and Vandenberg comes off the bench for Veltman for me. But I'm really hoping Veltman starts. Then I'm very happy with my defensive line on paper. It might not get the clean sheet, but Veltman away to Leicester looks far better than Vandenberg against Newcastle. So we'll wait and see. Is there a possibility that other games might postpone? Yes, but as I said before, On Friday night, we had the murmurings about the Merseyside Derby being postponed, but we didn't get any other rumours about other matches possibly being cancelled. So, as things stand, I think all games will go ahead, but there is obviously that small chance if the weather conditions get worse in certain parts of the UK that we could see some more postponements, but I'm just hoping that isn't the case. But yeah, I'm not sure which games that would be, to be fair. In London, for example, I think the warning is yellow. That might not be too relevant for non-English viewers, but basically, a yellow kind of warning in England isn't that, well, in London, should I say, isn't that bad. I do think in Everton or in Liverpool it was a red. I do think it was a red warning. And of course, all games in Wales have been cancelled this weekend and many events beyond football. Welbeck to João Pedro? Yes. I mean, the thing is, Welbeck could still start and João Pedro might have his minutes managed. I think Gabriel will start, but I'm still concerned. That's why I've been looking at taking a -4 hit. Yep, I'd bench Liverpool players. And look, if you refresh your FPL page or the app, you will now see Salah, Mykolenko, all these Liverpool and Everton assets will have a dash next to the name, should I say, not a fixture. So they aren't going to play this weekend. It's confirmed already. Start Flecken or Henderson? Flecken. Fabianski or Sells? Fabianski. And Sari says start Neri or Robinson, have 3 Arsenal players and 1 West Ham player. I would start Neri. Makes sense as well of your setup. Start 2, Lewis, Hall, 8 Nuri. I'd start Lewis and 8 Nuri. I'd bench Lewis Hall. Start Bodro or Colwill. I mean, I think Chelsea will win, but the Spaniard has a lot more attacking potential, and Spurs can really struggle against the teams they're expected to beat, and then they beat the likes of Man United, Man City, and maybe Chelsea. So I'd actually go for Bodro this week. I don't think Timber is absolutely nailed on, but with Arsenal's defensive injuries, I'd be very surprised if Timber was benched even over the next couple of weeks. But it is a very hectic schedule. Once Calafiori and Gabriel are back, I do think Arsenal will rotate a little bit and manage minutes, which could lead to frustrations. But yeah, I wouldn't say Timber's nailed on, but he should start most games for Arsenal. Yeah. Best replacement for Mykolenko? Depends what you're talking about with price, but for this week, it's probably Kirkes. Long-term Colwill. Saka captain, yeah, good luck. Hopefully that goes well for you. In the poll right now, Saka is second, with Palmer taking almost half of the votes. Watkins is third with 12%, and Isak fourth. I'll be honest, I thought more people would vote for Watkins, but yeah, to be fair, the question is, who will you captain this week? And Watkins' ownership is nowhere near as much as Palmer or Saka. Dylan Clutchem, I'm finally back on YouTube with some regularity. Can I get my moderator duties reassigned? Yeah, I'll look into that after, because this kind of chat is a bit buggy, so yeah, it doesn't let me kind of make you a moderator now. But yeah, I'll look into that. I do appreciate you tuning in. Is Dunk the best defender to get right now? No, I don't think so. Hey Dylan, hope you're good. Why have you gone for Palmer over Saka? I'll be honest, I think Fulham are a better team than Spurs right now. I know Spurs have better players and they've also got the ability to beat big teams. And to be fair, Chelsea have been a bit suspect against Big Six opponents and yada, yada, yada. Palmer himself does rely a lot on penalties to get hauls against the Big Six. But I just honestly think Fulham are better defensively than Spurs. And I also think Palmer and Chelsea could score 2 or 3 goals in this game, even if they drop points. But yeah, it's a difficult one. Saka's been really consistent. I just think Fulham away will cause some problems for Arsenal. Watkins captain, yeah, I wish I had him for this week at least. Captain Palmer or De Bruyne? Palmer for me. Yeah, I think Jackson will play this week. I bought him just now. I really hope so. KDB for Diallo. I have money. Free transfer. Yeah. I mean, if you can make that work, as long as it doesn't jeopardize your ability to have Salah in the future and all these other options I've discussed, like Saka and Palmer, that's fine. Semenyo or Kluivert for a -4? I still prefer Semenyo, but he needs to do more, I think. I think he played well against Tottenham, but I just want to see him in more advanced positions to really cause damage. Rodgers captain, fair enough. Start Colwill or Raul Jimenez? Probably Jimenez. He scored against Arsenal last season too. KDB for Diallo. I have money. Yeah, just covered. Start Flecken or Fabianski. As mentioned before, I'd go for Fabianski. Easy99 says transfer Bissouma to Kluivert for cheap option and save money. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Clover, as mentioned before, but he is an upgrade on Basuma. Brennan Johnson or Rogers? This week, it'd be Rogers. Yeah. We've only got 4 minutes until the deadline, by the way, so lock in your teams. The only news we've got on Veltman is that he's going to be in the squad, it looks like, according to Ursula. The same goes for Welbeck, but I'm not sure if he starts. I really hope he does. I think I am locked in, Suki. Maybe I'll change the captaincy late on, but I'll probably just stick with Palmer. Either jinx him or get points, just like I've been doing with Salah. But we'll see. Is there a chance Liverpool versus Fulham will get postponed as well? No. Next week, I mean, I'm not a weatherman, unfortunately, but I don't think the storm will go that far. Next week it should be fine. It's just a problem for this weekend, specifically on Saturday. So, yeah, I think Liverpool-Fulham will still go ahead. We'll talk about that over the next couple of days, but yeah, I have no reason to think otherwise. Rodgers starts or not? Yeah, I think he starts, but I'm not fully convinced. Do you think Salah will continue at Liverpool? Yes. So out of the three big players, Van Dijk, Trent, and Salah, I think 2 of them will stay. And I think the most likely to leave will be Trent, actually. Rohit, you've asked this question many, many a times, mate, and I did answer it. I said yes, but yeah. Rodgers or Semenyo? It'd be Rodgers this week. No need for caps or spamming. Saka and Rodgers or De Bruyne and Gordon? Saka and Rodgers for me. Need your help, Dylan. Should I take a -8 to bring in Colwell and Jackson? I'm not sure who you're selling, by the way. You obviously said Wood, but you said Colwell twice, so I'm not sure who you're selling there. Maybe it's Mikalenko. I wouldn't bring in Colwell for a hit necessarily. I'd buy him next week for free. That's my current plan. Yeah, I'm risking Gabriel and Veltman, Twister Parky. And by the way, since you're a Brighton fan, do you think Veltman starts? I haven't really seen any predicted lineups with him there, which is a big shame. Have Gabriel, Trent, Twansebi, Aït-Nouri, and Van den Berg. No free transfer. Risk Gabriel or a -4. I'd risk Gabriel. Who would you buy, Isak or KDB? Isak. Aït-Nouri and Dallo or Mazraoui and Dallo? Basically, the question is Aït-Nouri or Mazraoui, right? I'd rather go for Aït-Nouri. I choose the role. If Gabriel is out, O'Shea is my only sub. Yeah, for me it's Van den Berg. And I've also got Veltman, doubtful. Yeah, I think Jackson starts, mate. I think it was just the Southampton game rotation. And I don't think they wanted Jackson suspended for this Tottenham match. Salah's playing the season of his life for that new big 3-year contract. Yeah, no, what he's doing this year is extraordinary. Thoughts on Haaland captain? He's in my top 5, but I do have other preferences like Palmer, Watkins, perhaps Isak and Saka. Start Sells or Henderson? Sells for me. Rested Jackson captain? I'm not against it, mate. I think Jackson's a good shout. I bought him this week for a reason. I'm hoping for the best there. Bowen or Kluivert or Rodgers? My favourite this week would be Bowen. Greaves for Barco for bench cover. Only got Colwell. Yeah, that's fine. At 4 million, you're kind of not stacked with choices there, so makes sense. I got Gomez this week now. I have only 2 defenders. Yeah. A bit unfortunate. That's why I tend to suggest holding off transfers until as late as possible. Now, if I had made a transfer yesterday night, it would have been Isak and for Wood. But because he went up in price, I've been priced out of that. But I wanted to have the information possible because it's very important to have that. Watkins or Palmer for captaincy? Watkins for me. Yeah, Timber in for Lewis is a good transfer long term. I'd do it. Started Lewis, Van den Berg, Gvardiol, Gabriel, and benched Fast. Good luck, mate. Looks pretty good for me. To me. We've got 10 seconds left, basically. Lock in your teams right now, the captaincy, your transfers, and all of that stuff. So my final squad is Raya in goal. I've got a back 3 of Veltman, Gabriel, and Aït-Nouri with 2 yellow flags. I've also got Mbumo, Saka, Palmer, and Semenyo in the midfield. Jackson, Joao Pedro, and Cunha up front. My only bench cover is Van den Berg. That looks pretty grim after the postponement of Liverpool versus Everton. So Salah and Mikalenko are on my bench. The only time you'll ever see Salah on my bench. Never, ever ask me a question saying, should I bench Salah or this player? Yeah, you know my feelings on that. But even my backup goalkeeper is kind of useless here. But yeah, pretty much, if Veltman and Gabriel play, I think I can do quite well this week and perhaps get a green arrow. That is the aim. But next week, I am looking to bolster my defensive line, finally. And I think Colwell is at the top of the list, kind of mainly because of the fixtures. They're so good for Chelsea. Palmer or Bowen captain? It'd be Palmer for me, but Bowen's a great choice. Yeah, Lager with a countdown. We are locked in indeed. Good luck, Alex. And also Akraf. Thank you, Suki. Captaining Haaland. That could work well. I think he'll score. And we'll go for predictions right now, actually, before going back into your questions. So, let's go to Everton-Liverpool. So, I think the score will be, well, we'll talk about that in Gameweek 24, 25, or 33. Aston Villa-Southampton will be one of, well, the first 3 games of the game week with no early kickoff this weekend. I'm going to go for Aston Villa 3, Southampton 1. Brentford-Newcastle, Brentford 2, Newcastle 2. That is my prediction right now. Crystal Palace-Man City, Crystal Palace 0, Man City 2. Man United versus Nottingham Forest, Man United 2, Forest 1. Fulham Arsenal. Difficult game, but I'm going to go for Fulham 0, Arsenal 2. Ipswich Town against Bournemouth. Ipswich Town Bournemouth, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Yeah, 1-1 draw here. Leicester City against Brighton. No, I'm going to give Brighton a win here. Okay, Leicester 1, Brighton 2. But they do struggle against these newly promoted clubs. We have seen that trend this season. Spurs versus Chelsea. I'm going for a 2-2 draw here. I think Spurs could get a result. And I think Chelsea will drop points. That's my prediction. But I think it'll be high scoring. That's why I bought Jackson. And also long-term move. And Cole Palmer is my captain. West Ham versus Wolves. I'm going to go for West Ham 3, Wolves 2. So yeah, those are my predictions for now. Obviously, Arsenal just won 2-0. Are they going to do it again, 2-0? I am kind of thinking about 3-1 or 2-1 for the Arsenal game. You know what? I'm actually going to go for... Yeah, Fulham... I'll stick with a 2-0 for now. And hopefully that's the case. With a Saka goal, maybe a Gabriel bullet header, but I'm asking for a lot there, aren't I? So those are my predictions. I'll show you my FPL Challenge team quickly, once again, before going back to your questions. So I've gone for Raya, Gabriel, Dean, Gvardiol, Son, Saka, Palmer, De Bruyne, Watkins, Haaland, and Isak. So the challenge this week is that any players over 9 million will score double the amount of points. Hence why Son is there. Otherwise, he'd be nowhere near this team. And I'll try to be active in terms of making changes because last week there was so much rotation and I didn't go to FPL Challenge. I didn't have enough time to do it, to be fair, but I'll try to make that possible this weekend. So that is pretty much it. I did terribly last week. Hopefully I'll do much better in FPL Challenge. And of course, FPL is the main priority. We'll see how that goes as well. So that's my final team. I made 1 transfer during the deadline stream and not that late. For my standards, I bought... Sorry, that's my... Yeah, it always happens. I had Chris Wood in my starting 11, but I bought Nicholas Jackson to replace him. So this is the first game week where I don't own Chris Wood. So we'll see how that goes. He'll probably score against Man United. So that should be interesting. Did you end up getting Salah out of your FPL Challenge team? The deadline isn't like an FPL deadline, so that's fine. But I did get rid of Salah. I did it earlier in this stream, actually, and I sold Trent. They were both in my original team. Gandhi, better than Salah. Yeah, in the end, he ended up winning. He found a way. The bloody fool. No, I missed out on my transfer. Yeah, that can happen if you leave things late, but look, I understand time zones and also commitments. Trust me, it can happen. Using all 5 transfers next week. Hopefully no injuries. Wow. Look, I think they're going to be very good transfers. I think you got a good idea of what you want to do, but maybe reconsider that because I think having transfers in this period is very important. And I say that despite taking -4 hits every single week and not having 2 or more free transfers available. But I think it's a very good position to be in. Start Colwell with Sanchez or Fabianski. Well, the deadline is gone, but I would have started Fabianski in that case anyway. Yeah, I speak... oh, sorry, I thought you said Spanish. No, I don't. I only speak Spanish and English. Anguka Nayo. But hopefully that doesn't mean anything bad, eh? Let's search this up. All right. I should have searched it up first. So that's my mistake if it means something like... Yeah, let's not do that. Let's not get demonetized. Let's copy that. So. Oh, it's a song. Okay, no, yeah, it shouldn't be that bad then. So it means fall with it, right? I mean, maybe Google Translate is all over the place. Suki says, my only bench cover is Robinson. Lol. He'll probably be auto sub for Lewis. I think Lewis starts, mate. See, I have a lot of injuries at the back. I personally think he'll play this game, but yeah, it's not ideal. I don't like Cunha anymore. He's been in poor form recently, but I still think he's decent. With KDB back, Haaland will haul today. Maybe, but he was back against Forest and Haaland got 1 assist and played deeper, but I think Haaland will score. The postponement is a sign Salah has defeated even Gandhi this time. Really? I look at it as the other way. Gandhi defeated Salah. If the game happened on show day, will it be postponed as well? I'm not sure what you mean by that, sorry for not understanding. I captain Isak, I couldn't go for Palmer as a Spurs fan. I'll be honest, back in the day when Arsenal were terrible, and I'm not saying Spurs are now, but I remember captaining Vardy, you know, when Arsenal were down in the mud, Emery was there. They lost 2-0. Vardy got a 15-pointer, but I captained him. So, yeah, I get what you're saying. It's not nice to captain a player against your own team, but I don't know. I kind of think of it as, well, if my team is going to suffer and I'm going to suffer as a result, have my mood, you know, completely down and stuff, at least I'll profit from, you know, that stuff. I don't know if you kind of get what I'm saying, but yeah, that's kind of my reasoning for captaining a player against my own team, to kind of jinx them, and if not, you kind of profit and get some points. Sold 8 Nuri and bought Timber. Yeah, good transfer. I'm looking to sell 8 Nuri fairly soon as well. It's a Kenyan song. Yeah, fair enough. Villa 3, Saints 1. I've gone for the same thing. Brentford 2, Newcastle 2. Same thing. City 1-0. Yeah, I was considering that. I went for 2-0 in the end. 2-1 United, 2-1 Arsenal. I was also looking at that. 2-1 Bournemouth, 2-0 Brighton, I hope. And 2-1 Chelsea, 3-1 West Ham. Yeah, so pretty much very similar predictions from both of us this week. Snow day. Yeah, snow could definitely cause some postponements, but it depends. It has to be really heavy snowfall. In this case, it's the wind. There's a storm in the UK. So just for the sake of travel, for the fans and stuff like that, and sometimes the actual, you know, conditions on the pitch, you know, it just seems a bit too extreme for the Merseyside Derby, and that's why it was postponed. I think for snow, I don't think that should be an issue this month, but you never know. In the UK, the weather can be turbulent, and all of a sudden you get, I don't know, a massive snowfall, or you get this kind of storm out of nowhere. You know, the weather is unpredictable. I was thinking of captaining Jackson as he got rested and he can really take advantage of that Spurs defence, but in the end stuck with Palmer. Yeah, Jackson was a great consideration and a nice differential, I think, for the armband, so I'm not against that, definitely. Let's go through the other questions I missed out on. So yeah, Lago with a nice emoji there. I did Mbuma to Semenyo. I also put Milenkovic ahead of Greaves on the bench. What are your thoughts, and do you think I should sell Milenkovic to Colwell next week? Yes, and I said this for the last couple of weeks. So in Gameweek 11, hold Aina and Chris Wood for that Ipswich Town game in Gameweek 13, but afterwards I'd be looking to sell all of these assets, even sells in goal, and I think that applies to your situation as well. I think Mbuma can do well this week, and I'm hoping for that. Semenyo has been disappointing since I bought him on the wild card, but I think he's got great fixtures to kind of rectify that. And yeah, Milenkovic out of Greaves, I don't really blame you for it. I think both Ipswich Town and Forest concede, but Forest have the better defence. So I understand that. He's also got a bit of attacking potential, although you could say the same thing about Greaves. So fair enough. It's a good decision. So FPL Challenge Team, Martinez, Gavardio, Saliba, Kirkes, Bruno, Saka captain, Son, De Bruyne, Palmer, Haaland, Watkins. Really good stuff. I've got something very similar. I was looking at Kirkes and I might end up buying him in FPL Challenge, but yeah, looks good. Jakob puts his team. What transfers do you think I should make eventually? Nothing in the bank. Okay. Goalkeepers is fine. Keep that as it is. Defensive line is also decent. I think in a couple of weeks, though, you would be tempted to sell 8 Nuri, but I think for now, you're kind of fine there. I'll be honest, I'd roll. I'm not sure how many transfers you have, mate, but at the moment, I'd be looking at rolling. Maybe if we get injuries or suspensions and stuff like that, we can reassess this going into the next deadline. Last week, following the captaincy option based on the wave, Palmer 7 points, then Salah. Captaining Saka this week, then Palmer. Is Saka really the differential captaincy, though? I actually thought it'd be, you know, Saka would be the more captain option. But yeah, over the past year or two, we have seen this kind of trend where the template captain can underwhelm, and then the kind of second, third choice will end up being the best one. But that's not always the case. And look at Salah this season. He's been the go-to asset, and he's been phenomenal. With Haaland captain locked, it must pay off. Yeah, it could do. I think a lot of people would expect a low-scoring game between City Palace, but Haaland could get both goals in a 2-0 win. Who will win the FIFA Club World Cup? Honestly, I'm not sure. Closer to the actual tournament in the summer next year, I'll probably give you a better answer, but yeah, should be a good one. When will this match be played? Either Gameweek 24, 25, or 33, according to Ben Krellin, and he said it won't happen before Gameweek 19. Chase says decide to roll in the end. Gabriel and Welbeck are flagged, with only Greaves available on my bench. Yeah, not ideal, but I think those players could feature in Gabriel and Welbeck, and if that's the case, you're looking good this week. I'm in a similar boat. I think a lot of us will have a bit of a weak bench this week. So yeah, thank you FPL Diamond. As he says, smash the like button if you haven't already. It goes a long way to supporting the channel. And let's get the subscriptions up as well. Let's make more progress towards new goals as well. So right now we are, yeah, on 150 likes, so I do appreciate that. Let's cry? Let's not cry, but let's not do that. Let's try to get to more likes. That'd be greatly appreciated. And also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, for the latest FPL and Yusuf Fantasy updates. Also, updates in terms of my schedule, in terms of when videos are uploaded. And also, check the Discord server. It's a great community to be a part of. The FPL League, Drafthound, which is a great resource, and Spotify. We have gotten a lot of subscribers in the last couple of days, actually. We did hit 30k, Jesus, my memory escapes me, last week. So last Friday, 8 days ago. And we've already got over 200 subscribers in that time frame. So we're looking to get to 31,000 by the end of the calendar year, which might be a tough ask. But yeah, we've already hit the big goal of 30k, and we're now going to look towards new goals in 2025. Got caught up and missed the deadline. Captaincy goes to Saka. One of Palmer, though. That might work in your favour. A lot of times I hear this sort of scenario, it ends up being, oh, you know what, I'm happy I missed the deadline and stuff like that. So we'll see. Might make 4 free transfers instead. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You could make 3 or 4 moves and still save 1 or 2. Semenyo is such a fraud, man. I hate him so much. Bowen too. I think Bowen's a good player. And Semenyo always looks dangerous because he takes so many shots, but most of them are blocked, unfortunately. Does Watkins count with the more than 9 million for challenge, as he has 9, not over? That is a great question. Well, they do say over 9 million. So, based on that, you'd say no. I'm still going to have him, though, and captain him. But that is actually very interesting when it comes to the captaincy. I might have to look into that. That's a really good question. But I'm fairly sure Watkins wouldn't count because he's 9 million, not over 9. Let me read that again. Let's go to FPL Challenge and see. So players costing over 9 million. Yeah, I don't think Watkins counts, actually. So maybe I should captain somebody else. Like Saka, maybe. Yeah, that's interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah, good point, Twister Parker. I didn't really think about that. Fleck into Alisson when he's fit. Yeah, that's fine. For me, the best 5 goalkeepers in the game. So once Alisson's fit, he makes part of that. The other 4 would be Raya, Sanchez, Verbruggen, and Onana. I think if you're making like a ranking, it's between Raya or Sanchez for first. I think Onana would be third, Alisson 4th, and Verbruggen 5th. Now, the reason why Alisson's kind of low down is because Liverpool, unfortunately, Alisson is injury prone. So that's the kind of reason why I'd put him a little bit further below. And also you've got alternatives in that defensive line. I know you've also got that with Raya, but you've got Trent, you've got Van Dijk, Gomez at the moment, and then Konate when he returns. So there are so many ways to cover Liverpool defensively. That's why Alisson would be third in my list. Yeah, I think Watkins is a big differential captain. He was my top pick. Throughout the entire stream, I recommended Watkins as the best option. We'll see how that goes. But if he plays at least 70 minutes, I think he's going to do well. Thoughts on the Rugby League? I honestly don't know enough. I don't watch rugby. Zulu says, my 5 free transfers for next week. Gvardiol, Mbumo, Raul, Haaland, McNeil for Trent, Salah, Strand Larson, Jackson, and a cheap mid. Looks good to me. I'd maybe reconsider a different forward, though. I like Strand Larson, but I think Joao Pedro or Welbeck, if he's fit, would be even better. But yeah, great transfers. I don't really blame you. City should have Rodri available for the Club World Cup. They'll be formidable. Yeah, true. That's what I mean. When we get closer to it, I can give a definitive answer, but I'd still probably say either Real Madrid or Man City to win it. Thanks, Dylan. I have one free transfer, thinking of selling Nuri eventually, and I'm not sure about Mitoma, but I might be wrong. Yeah, Mitoma, look, despite the recent returns, I'm not a huge fan of him. I think he's a decent differential, but he's a very good dribbler, but not the most consistent with goals and assists. I think he will be available easy for midweek. I think he'll play against Shakhtar, but I do cover this in the Limitless video, and I made that yesterday, and I literally recorded it, and Pulisic got injured, so I had to record another segment that I added towards the end of the video to kind of cover, just in case Pulisic misses out, you know, who to replace him with. But yeah, I think Kane will be available. It isn't guaranteed. For this weekend, which you're asking, to be fair, for the Bundesliga, I don't think he makes it. But in the Champions League, I think he does at least get into the squad. Let's see if he starts, though. Yeah, Saka's a good captaincy option. I've gone for Palmer myself. I don't really captain Arsenal players, to be fair. Maybe there's that club bias that I've got, but yeah, I think Saka's a good option. I just think Palmer's slightly better. I might be wrong, though. Anguka Nayo basically means falling with it, yeah. Since there's no Salah, we'll just fall with any player when it comes to captaincy. That's actually a very good way of looking at it. I didn't expect that sort of link with FPL. Thank you, lads. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you, FPL Diamond, for pushing the community on towards 150 likes. I appreciate that. I'm on wildcard in UCL Fantasy this week. Been focusing on fixtures over players. Are there any players with poor fixtures you'd still include? Perhaps Gavardio could enter into that. The same with Erling Haaland, but I'll talk about this in the wildcard. I don't want to spoil it since the video will be recorded tomorrow and released either on Sunday or Monday, but let's maybe... I'm going to refer to the wildcard video, or the wildcard team I've already built yesterday, and of course things can change over the weekend. So who's got tough fixtures? Rafinha would be a great example. I'd still look to include him or Lewandowski. In the defensive line, Koundé could fall into this category, but I'm less keen on Barcelona defensively compared to their attack, of course. Apart from that, I mean, look, there's probably other options, like I said, Gavardio and Erling Haaland. They'd still be decent choices, but I think Barcelona really spring to mind. I'd still include one or two of their assets, if possible. Quick question, as Mbuma is going down in price today and every single one of his replacements is rising, who would you recommend to come in for him? Well, apart from the obvious Salahs, Sakas and Palmers of the world, I would be looking at Jared Bowen. I think he's a very decent punt for the next couple, but then West Ham's fixtures get worse around Gameweek 18-19, which isn't ideal, so it's a very short-term punt for me. Captain Bowen having a bad season, time to take a few risks. I hope it goes well for you. Bowen played very well against Leicester. If he does that again, I think you'll haul. Mbuma and Johnson and Rico to KDB, Enzo, Colwill. I like the KDB and Colwill transfers. Enzo's a decent budget midfielder. He's been in excellent form. I'm not sure if I'd buy him though. I prefer Rodgers, Semenyo, Amad Diallo, and the others like Buonanotte, who I've covered in recent videos. Yeah, Henderson's fine. It's just I wouldn't start him this week and he's got poor fixtures. Yeah, I think Salah will start against Girona, but... Well, yeah, now with the Everton game postponed, actually... Oh, yeah, this is the problem with recording videos early. So, yeah, that's the thing. But I did include Liverpool players in my Limitless video, just letting you know. But I did say if, you know, there is a rotation risk or stuff like that, I look to bench these, or I'd look to replace these players with, and I gave the examples. But, yeah, I think Salah starts now. I think he starts. Ari Watkins, quote from the FPL challenge page, there are 8 players in the game who are priced over 9 million. Oh, wow, so they included Watkins. Okay, so they meant to say 9 million or above. So yeah, Twisted Parky, it looks like we got the answer by Joe, so thank you very much. Watkins does count for that, and he'll be my captain in FPL Challenge. Is this the game week where you finally move on from Blazwich and Di Gregorio? Yes, I'd like to hope so, mate. I'd like to hope so. Whether I take a -4 hit or I play the wild card, that remains to be seen. I'll discuss that in the team selection video, but I'd like to think so. But Di Gregorio did keep a clean sheet for me last week against Aston Villa, which I'm thankful for. Mbuma and Nuri, Lewis to Rodgers and Van Dijk, 0.1 million short of Trent. Yeah, looks good to me. Looks good. I would rather sell Lewis right now, but Nuri is a sell, I think, from Gameweek 18 for sure. And if Wolves get battered by West Ham this weekend, then yeah, I think Aït-Nouri will be on the chopping block even sooner. Julian Lopetegui could be chopping block if he loses again, and he has arguments with his players. Yeah, I've never rated him that much as a manager. I don't think he's terrible. Of course, he got big jobs for a reason at Spain and Real Madrid, but yeah, I mean, West Ham at the moment is a shambles, and a lot of their fans want him out already. Semenyo or Wissa? This week is close, actually. I'd probably say Semenyo, but not by much. Thanks. Another option is Mbeumo and Johnson and Cunha to Saka, Enzo and Larson next game week for free. Right, let me just get up the other message myself and compare them. So, Saka, Enzo, Larson versus... Wait, where is the other message? Oh yeah, KDB, Enzo, Colwell. Yeah, I do prefer Saka over KDB, but at the same time, I do like the Colwell move long term just because of the fixtures. And I do prefer Joao Pedro and Welbeck over Larson if Welbeck is fit. Interesting, if we don't get Watkins points, I will hound them on Twitter. Yeah. And based on the rules which Joe just read, it should be the case. FPL deadline should have been extended as well. It hasn't been though, LFC. I'm not sure if FPL put out a statement saying the deadline won't change, but yeah, the deadline passed already. Let me actually check that. Yeah, the game's already updating, so the deadline is gone. I just double-checked for sure, but yeah, you can't make any more moves. So I'm going to end this poll. Palmer did win the captaincy vote with 51%, Saka second with 31%, Watkins third, and Isak fourth. Watkins is my personal favourite, but I don't own him. I started Van Heck over Aït-Nouri this week. Thoughts? No, yeah, I would have done the same thing, I think. The only thing I could say against it is that Aït-Nouri has more attacking potential, but yeah, I think Brighton have a better chance of a clean sheet. So, let's go through these final questions. Keep on plugging away at the likes if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel and keep your eyes peeled for FPL and Use Fantasy content. The plan is to do a reaction stream tonight, and we can talk very prematurely about, Gameweek 15 so far, and then looking ahead to Gameweek 16. And yeah, tomorrow I'll be recording more UCL fantasy videos. There's already the Limitless podcast available for members and patrons. Thank you to the super chatters, members and patrons, of course, as always. Nestor says, recién veo que el partido fue pospuesto. ¿Se va a jugar este fin de semana o hasta nuevo aviso? Parece que este partido de Liverpool-Everton va a jugar en la jornada 24, 25 o 33. Así que no va a jugar este fin de semana o en estos días. Ya está. No va a pasar en la jornada 15. Chase puts his team, 2 free transfers. I'm feeling a bit lost. Yeah, too many issues on the defensive line. I can relate, mate. If Gabriel's fit, though, that's fine. Hall's also decent to hold. Greaves is a 4 million defender. So you'd be looking at selling Mikalenko first. I'd be looking at Colwell to replace Mikalenko, even if you got Sanchez already. But the only problem with that is it also blocks you from Jackson up front, which you might want to do. Actually, you've got Enzo Fernandez already. So I would be looking at Milos Kerkez, I think, as a budget option to kind of keep you afloat for at least the next couple of weeks. Yeah, hopefully Bowen does well for you, although that would mean Aït-Nouri doesn't do well for me, but who cares at this point? Is Saka a good option? Yes, he is. He was in my top 5. In fact, I think he was in my top 4. Captain Jackson will wait and see. I'm hoping for the best there. I just bought him. Good luck, mate. Captain Jackson. You've got a good record, I think, with the Captaincy FPL, Kevy, so that could be a nice omen. Need big points this game week for better opponents for overall cup next week. Yeah, we'll wait and see how it goes. Is Mbeumo worth holding even with the price drop? Possibly, but I like the Aston Villa and Newcastle games for him. If he doesn't haul here, I'd be very concerned, and he's on the chopping block for me anyway. I'm not going to deny that. It's just with my defensive issues, and of course with my temptation to buy Jackson, which I did here, by the way, just to let you know, or Isak, I decided to kind of prolong that a little bit more. Need a wildcard stream for the coming weeks. Yeah, I'm not sure about a wildcard stream, to be honest. I should have more free time to make videos and stuff from next week onwards, but I'll be honest, the last week has been very hectic. I've just about managed to get everything done, and I've done triple uploads, double uploads, including a live stream and then a video straight afterwards, because of these quick turnarounds. But yeah, there will be a reaction stream later, and I could do maybe a provisional wildcard team, but just keep your eyes peeled for the wildcard video in a few days' time, because that will be more in depth. We'll have the updates from the weekend, see how people get on, and of course, there are Champions League games in midweek. Thank you, Barath, and I'll see you very soon. LFC says, thanks, Dylan. Captain Watkins viced Saka. First time I can stay relaxed after not captaining Salah. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it, but look, all these options, you know, Watkins, Saka, Palmer, they're all great choices, but I think if the Liverpool game didn't get postponed, I think most of us would have gone for Salah, despite the early kickoff curse. Every time I get Wolves assets, they stink. Nuri 4 seasons in a row, Cunha and the tank Wang. Sarr was okay, I think, but poor now. For me, Cunha was a brilliant signing, so when I signed him, he started getting double-digit hauls, and, you know, I bought him at the right time, basically, and I recommended him for even longer. 8 Nuri, I agree, though. I bought him last season. I think it was in April. I was at the beach. You know, I made the transfer. I bought Nuri, and then he got injured, I think it was. I bought him this season. Got a clean sheet immediately. I thought, wow, maybe the Wolves assets are the way to go. Then 8 Nuri just blanks, then concedes 8 goals in 2 games. So I can relate with 8 Nuri, but Cunha was a great move for me. Who can be a better replacement for Mbeumo below 7.5 million? Bowen, Semenyo, Amad Diallo, Rodgers, they would be right up there. Mitoma could still be decent, but my favourite is Bowen. Terry says 8 Nuri to Van Dijk next week, but I will be selling him before the money fixture, Ipswich at home, but I delay the move and Van Dijk rise or 8 Nuri drops, I will get priced out. I get you, and honestly, the way Wolves are defending, yeah, Ipswich Town could certainly score in that game. I also captain Jackson. If it works out, I will say it on your reaction stream, and I also bought Rashford as a punt. Well, Rashford did get a sort of rest against Arsenal, so to speak. Came on as a substitute, was very poor, but he was scoring goals before that, and he could definitely be a nice punt. He's a very streaky player, so once he scores a goal, then makes it 2-3 games in a row, he can easily make it 4, 5, 6 consecutive games. So, yeah, I think Rashford's a decent punt. As for Jackson captain, I like the look of it, and I hope it works well for both of us. Although, I'm actually hoping for a Spurs result here, which I rarely say. With the storm coming in, can Liverpool aboard to Girona? Yeah, that's a good question. Well, they can still travel on Sunday or Monday, and that's typically when they would travel anyway, right? So, yeah, I don't think the storm lasts that long, but I'll be honest, I haven't, you know, checked all the ins and outs of this weather and when the storm will exactly end, but I'm fairly sure things will ease up by Sunday or the early hours of Monday. I thought the deadline was later. Yeah, is it because of the postponement? Yeah, I get that if that's the case, but yeah, I always double check or triple check because I'm very meticulous when it comes to these sort of things. So I had to make sure that the deadline was still 11 AM in the UK. Kirkus is a nice short-term pick as he has a tendency to get into advanced positions up the pitch. Yeah, and he got 2 bonus points against Tottenham. Very good performances by him recently. I've had him for the past 2 game weeks. Yeah, really good punt. He's been very impressive. I still think Ipswich score though, so I think he'll blank this week. We'll see if I'm wrong though. Yeah, I think I'd do it. I'd buy Van Dijk. Everton and Liverpool at the same place. Yeah, they're both in Liverpool, in Merseyside. But you make a good point. I'm just saying that I think the weather will get better in the next couple of days, so it shouldn't be a concern. I think they'll still fly out. Is the deadline going to be postponed too? No, mate. The deadline's gone. Sorry, mate. The game's already updating. I think FPL, if I'm not mistaken, came out with a statement saying the deadline won't be moved. And this has been the case in the past as well. Please don't mention travel and storm. I got to fly. Yeah, I was thinking about that when you mentioned the flight to Parky, but you know, let's manifest positive stuff. Hopefully it all goes well. I try to avoid Jackson. I had him last season and he missed sitters constantly. This season, though, he's been very, maybe not clinical, but he has been much better with the opportunities. And actually, I've got a positive experience with Jackson. I signed him towards the end of last season and he was actually doing really well for me. So, yeah, it's very interesting how, you know, ownership bias can really play a part in these decisions. Played the free hit, bought in KDB, Ahmad, Isak and Watkins. Good punts. I particularly like Isak, Watkins and KDB for this week, and Amad Diallo is a nice budget midfielder. So yeah, hopefully it goes well for you. Ahmad says, ended up captaining Pedro. High risk, high reward. That is a great way of summing it up because I think his minutes are a major problem this week. A few Brighton pages do expect him to play 60-70, and they even suggest he could be subbed off earlier, but hopefully he does play more than that and can get a big haul. I forgot the last game week last season. Wanted to captain Eze and he had 17 points. Made me miss out on top 100k by less than 2,000 spots. Yeah, I actually didn't hear of that story before, so that's a major blow and very frustrating. But look, I've missed deadlines in the past when I didn't make FPL content. You know, I can relate to that. And for those that live, you know, in other areas or other countries of the world with different time zones, it's very difficult. You know, when I go to Argentina and I'm trying to do FPL content, you know, it's very difficult for me to, you know, I basically have to wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. to make a deadline stream, so I have to kind of adapt. Watkins, my captain, is it good? Scored a lot of people tell me no. Yeah, Watkins is a good captaincy option, yeah. He was my top pick, actually, for this week with Salah out of the equation. I would like to see Liverpool buy Robinson, maybe even Liverpool buy Gordon. Well, they can buy Robinson, a Trent lookalike, basically, on the other flank. So if they sell Trent, they can replace him, basically. Yeah, Gordon kind of suits Liverpool, I think, especially under Jurgen Klopp. And I think he'd be a good signing, even with Arne Slot here as well. That's a good shout. I kind of hope they don't, because they're good players, and I don't want Liverpool to strengthen even further, but they will. Someone's name is Mbumo is finished. Yeah, he changes it like every week or every month. So it's like Man City's finished, Southampton is finished, Chelsea's finished. I think he's a Liverpool fan, by the way, so hopefully we'll see Liverpool is finished very soon. Joe says, I think Welbeck will start as he was rested in the week. Yeah, that's possible, but Joao Pedro could still play as an attacking midfielder, but you make a good point. That is certainly a chance, you know, it's a possibility, and I hope that's not the case. Will Young still be a good defender option after the tough fixtures? Yeah, I mean, he's been very impressive this season, getting assists when Everton concede and always managing to find a way to get something, scoring a brilliant free kick against Wolves. So yeah, I think Ashley Young is a decent choice after Gameweek 18. The lap is decent. I just prefer Joao Pedro, Welbeck, Ivanilson, Cunha. Then, of course, not to mention Jackson, Watkins, and Isak. Lots of FPL managers captaining Palmer. I didn't even do it as a Chelsea fan. Spurs sometimes hard to predict, and Chelsea have not a good record against Big Six. I agree with everything you said. I've mentioned both of those factors already, but I still think Palmer will do well, and I also think Chelsea will score goals in this game. People hating on Jackson for last season don't seem to realise he scored more goals in the debut season for Chelsea than Drogba did. True, but he did miss some big chances, like some absolute sitters, especially at the beginning. But you could argue after that hat-trick against Tottenham, oddly enough, he started to pick up big time. Top 5 things about England. 1, Premier League. 2, 3, 4, 5. Can't think of anything. Yeah. I mean, in London, for example, there are a lot of different, you know, places to go. So I'd say that. I'd also say the multiculturalism. You know, you have so many different foods, you know, just, you know, shops from all over the world. You know, that's stuff I like about, you know, London in particular. But then, yeah, the weather's terrible. What can I say? Had my third hit of the season, need to stop taking them. Yeah, in the last 2 weeks, I've taken -4 hits. But before that, I basically didn't take any -4s whatsoever. Mbuma going to haul because of that guy's name. Hopefully, you know, that'd be great. Pedro came in for the last 25 minutes against City and got a goal and an assist. Yeah, maybe a benching is what he needs. That's a good point. I think the Premier League were a bit premature in calling the Merseyside Derby off. Not too bad here now. Oh my, imagine... Nah, they can't do that now, surely. Imagine they like, you know what? The game's going to go ahead now. That would be absolutely mental. I've got Salah on the bloody bench. That would be a piss take. I was thinking about that when I put him on the bench. Oh my God. But yeah, no, they can't do that. The game will be postponed and it'll be allocated into Game Week 24, 25, or 33. The game usually takes about 45 minutes to update. I think it is a bit quicker this season, though, so you might be surprised by that. They are a bit quicker with the updates this time round. You don't even know who your vice captain is, fair enough. I went with Davis over Reynate Nuri. Thoughts? I also have the lap double Ipswich. Doesn't feel right, though. Yeah, but it's not a bad fixture against Bournemouth. I think they might be tired going into this game, and Ipswich Town could get a result. Spurs steal it from the rich and give it to the poor. Yeah, that's why I call him the Robin Hood of the Premier League. You know, losing to Ipswich Town, giving them their first win in over 22 years. Then they beat Man City 4-0, and then they have lost track of their results now. They draw to Fulham, and then, of course, they lose to Bournemouth. The biggest bummer with the Everton-Liverpool postponement is we have to wait 2 extra hours for the Premier League action. Yeah, that's true. That's probably why people are still tuning into this bloody stream, isn't it? De Bruyne a good pick now? I think so. It's just, there's always the same issues with him, the same caveats. His minutes are always going to be a concern because of rotation. he needs to be managed because he's such an injury-prone player nowadays. Yeah, we could get another postponed game, but we just don't know yet. Unfortunately, the weather is volatile, turbulent, and things change quickly, so I couldn't tell you, like, weeks in advance what's going to happen. There's no such thing as bad weather, just inappropriate clothing. Wow, great quote. I just don't like the cold weather, though. I think the main issue with England is the lack of sun. If there was more sun, it'd be more tolerable, but, you know, when you've got just clouds and rain, fuck that. You think Chelsea can continue their form? Yeah, with their fixtures coming up, they certainly can, but I think they will drop points in games you expect them to win. And I think Spurs will get a draw, actually. I've gone for 2-2 at the moment. It wouldn't even surprise me if Spurs won this game. They're the type of club to steal from the rich and give to the poor. Imagine Merseyside Derby official changed their mind. Yeah, we're screwed. We're absolutely screwed. And that's where the people who just started Salah just in case and captain him will be licking their lips. Weather might be better, but the pitch might be screwed. Yeah, exactly. And they've confirmed it. I mean, they can't just go back on their word straight afterwards. Yeah, definitely. Spurs are the most unpredictable. I think United would be up there as well. Yeah, I think Spurs are probably the most. Not many travels in Derby, most from City. Yeah, true, but still, you know, within the city itself, you know, they might be traveling from the outskirts or from a completely different part of town. So, yeah, it's still going to be a bit problematic. Guess what goal stream is shifting? We are set to become Canada 2. Great, says Twisted Parky. Easy99 says, next season, Everton with a new stadium. If their stadium has a roof, it will not be postponed then. Possibly, but with these weather conditions, it still affects the travel and the fans and stuff like that, so it could still be postponed, but of course the chance will be much lower. Should we prioritize Isak or Trent for Gameweek 16? I'd prioritize Isak. The weather's the only thing that can stop Salah hauling. Yeah. Where did you grow up, Dylan? In London. I've grown up in London, but yeah, I've got dual nationality basically, but I've grown up in England all my life. That's why when you're in a place for so long, you do get sick of it, right? The same goes for most places in the world, I'd say. Ahmad will start today. I think he will, but it's not a guarantee. I forgot the deadline. I have Salah captain, so I'm sorry, boys. I'm so hoping that happens. I just don't think it will. I'm sorry, but they just did the confirmation. But if it somehow did, if the impossible happened, you will be in a great position. I can't lie to you. And I will cry. I will log off FPL. And that's the end of FPL content. The positive about Man United is that they were defensively better against a top team like Arsenal. I look forward to owning Man United assets at cheap price points. Onana would be a big one. Yeah, Onana's always been one of the better goalkeepers in FPL. In UCL Fantasy at Inter Milan, he was also very solid. So that is a good shout there. Yeah, even Mazraoui, I've always kind of highlighted him as an option. They were solid against Arsenal defensively, only undone by set pieces really, but it could have been a bigger scoreline still for Arsenal. And I do think United sacrificed their attack completely for a solid defensive line. Hey Dylan, what do you love about the Renaissance period? I'll be honest, I haven't studied the Renaissance period in such a long time. Can I say Ezio Auditore de Firenze? That's all I can say really. Assassin's Creed. Let's actually see what Renaissance. Let's see what can I actually say about the Renaissance period. Favorite things about it. Yeah, I haven't studied it in many years, to be fair. If I had to pick something, it's either Michelangelo or maybe Machiavelli, just because of his influence on maybe Shakespearean plays and stuff, and I studied a lot of English literature, so maybe that. Honestly, you're probably like saying, you are absolutely stupid, but yeah, that's probably what I'm going to go for. No, Liverpool game will not be this week. It will be in either Gameweek 24, 25, or 33, according to Ben Crellin. He states that it will not happen before Gameweek 19. Also have Salah on the bench, would accept they play the game now, but they give us all another triple captain, free hit, and bench boost. Yeah, I mean, that could maybe help you, but for those that start Salah and captain him, they've got a massive advantage. But of course, that's not going to happen. Just to reassure people, we're not going to get the Merseyside Derby. They may have cancelled it prematurely. Yeah, Leonardo da Vinci, he was also in Assassin's Creed, by the way, but of course, historically inaccurate. Yeah, need be another one. No chance they change the decision. People are reversing plans. It would be a logistical disaster. I completely agree. Is there not a chance they just schedule the match for another day, but still in this game week? No, because No. I see what you're saying, but in FPL, for example, it's still going to count as a double game week later this season in probably 24, 25, or 33. But no, they can't do that. Especially this week, I was asked, can they just play the game in midweek? Definitely not, because Liverpool play Girona in the Champions League. They could be refunded right now, the game be postponed. Yeah. Is there any news about Aston Villa game today? Nothing about any game, to be fair. Yeah, true. The trains, when they actually are running, they're quite good in England. So that's 5 things, right? So I said 5 things about living in London, for example. So 1, the Premier League, which is what Twisted Parky said. 2, the multiculturalism with the different foods and shops and stuff like that. Oh shit, yeah, I'm struggling now. The Shakespearean play probably written by Bacon, says Twisted Parky. All of us who bench Salah, says Mbeumo is finished. Yeah. Hopefully, by the way, Mbeumo is not finished. Salah triple captain in the upcoming double game week? Yeah. But I've played it already, so I'm not going to worry about that. I'll just be captaining Salah and hoping for the best. With the game postponements, do we save our triple captain now for the potential Salah triple captain? Yeah. Yeah, because that will be a small double game week, or it most likely will be. So you can triple captain Salah there, and then save the free hit and bench boost for the other double game weeks, which will be a little bit bigger. But that isn't a guarantee either. My vice captain was Jackson, let's hope he haws. I completely agree. A double game week is when, for example, in a situation like this, Liverpool-Everton is postponed. We now have a blank game week, which you can see in the title. That means, you know, a set of teams, maybe even more, will not feature this week. And then as a result, they need to put this game somewhere. So at the moment, it looks like Liverpool-Everton will be scheduled into game week 24, 25, or 33. So in one of those game weeks, we will have a double game week because Liverpool-Everton will go into one of those matches or match days, and Liverpool will play twice in that single week. Therefore, the likes of Salah will have 2 matches in the same game week, double game week, and they will score double the points. Well, I say double the points. I need to make this very clear for newcomers and stuff. So basically, they will score points for the first game scheduled already and also the Everton match. So hopefully that is clear. I don't want to confuse people. Yeah, a lot of Bowen captainers in the building today. I'm quite surprised by that. No, you will not. So you get points if you captain Salah. Not this week, no. Your vice captain will become your captaincy option in game week 15. But in a double game week, yes, if you captain Salah, you will have the points allocated for both matches in that double game week. What do you think of my choice of captaining De Bruyne? I'm not against it. I'm not against it, to be fair. He's not my favourite option, and his minutes are always a concern. I wouldn't captain Timber, especially against Fulham, no. I think owning him is enough. He's a great long-term purchase. Yeah, trains are good in London and England, to be fair. Yeah, they are. But sometimes there are delays, and yeah, there's a lot of postponements, actually. There's a lot of maintenance and also strikes, particularly in the underground. What's the best game of all time for you, Dylan? Red Dead 2 for me. Played it 8 times. I played Red Dead 2. I'll be honest, when I first played it, it took me a while to get going, but once I did, I really liked the game. But I don't know, mate. It's a difficult question. There's so many great games out there. My personal favourites would include Uncharted 2, Batman Arkham City, Witcher 3 I love. I played that recently as well, actually around the World Cup, so 2 years ago now. I'm currently playing Cyberpunk and Elden Ring, and I'm also kind of doing a second playthrough of Spider-Man 2, but my favourite games, if I had to like make I can't pin it down to one, I honestly can't. So Uncharted 2, Batman Arkham City, Witcher 3, I really like Bioshock. I think that's a very good game. I also like the second one, but I'll stick with the first Bioshock. I'm forgetting a lot of games now. God of War. I like God of War 3 a lot, by the way, but yeah, God of War, you can say that, or God of War Ragnarok. I'd probably prefer the first one in the new series. Yeah, GTA San Andreas is also up there for me, but I like every GTA game, to be fair. GTA 3 is the most important one of them all, and I actually liked it a lot, but yeah, probably GTA San Andreas. There's a lot of games. I honestly would be here all day talking about video games and films and shows. Do you think De Bruyne will haul this week? Yeah, if he starts, I think he does. Can't wait to triple captain Salah. I can wait because I used it already. Hi, probably this already asked. Do you know what happens to the ones that put Salah as captain? Yeah, I just mentioned it now. So your vice captain will become your new captain and Salah will drop to the bench and you will have a substitution made. Wish I captain Saka. Well, maybe I'll feel the same way as you, but I think Palm will do well. Love that you spent time with us after the deadline. Yeah, thank you, thank you, FPL Diamond. Sorry, my head is kind of gone. Maybe I need more sleep, it seems. But yeah, no worries about that. And also, we hit the super chat goal, so one of the the kind of main kind of reward or kind of gift back to viewers for the super chat goal being achieved is to have a longer live stream, which I did put earlier. The game is now live for the person who wanted to check his Vice. Yeah, so pretty much around 45 minutes, right? 40-ish, so it's quite quick. I double up on Arsenal defensively, Gabriel and Timber, hoping for good returns. Long term, that's a great move. Against Fulham, it's not a guaranteed clean sheet, though. It's a very difficult game. I triple captain Salah right now. Didn't know what to do. What? You triple captain Salah before the deadline? Yeah, not sure about that, mate. Yeah, just let me know if you triple captain before the deadline or now. Do not do it for Gameweek. Well, you can if you back him to do well against Fulham, but the double Gameweek will be later this season. Bowman will get a massive return soon. Yeah, I think he'll do well. Those people that held the triple captaincy are laughing that this game is off. Yeah. But thankfully, in my case, I got a hat-trick out of Haaland in Gameweek 2, so it's not too shabby, but yeah. Football Manager, I do like it, but it's not my favourite game, though, to be honest. I like having control. I know, obviously, you pick, you're a manager. You aren't going to play yourself in, like, FIFA or in PES, but yeah, I just prefer having more of a hands-on approach. Yeah, I played the Trait Become Human. That's a really good game. It's not in my favourite, like, top 10, but I liked it. I also liked Heavy Rain, which was made by the same developer. Dying Light and Metro Exodus. I haven't played either, actually, but I've heard good things about it. I think I've got one of them in my library on the PS5. I was joking, our trains suck. Fair enough. Now I can't express how much I regret using the triple captaincy in Gameweek 9 on Haaland. Yeah, bit unfortunate though. That was against Southampton, right? If I'm not mistaken. Oh, it's changed to 14th of December now, says FM. Has it already been confirmed? Surely not. No, yeah, it can't be. I hope they schedule it for the Gameweek 25. Liverpool play Wolves. Wolves and Everton double Gameweek is an assured major haul for Salah. Yeah, but to be honest, the way he's going, he can get a double-digit haul against anybody. I have Salah captain and the derby has been cancelled. Yeah, but your Vice will come into play. That is why the Vice exists. It's not just there to see a V, if you just like the letter or something. Thank you very much, ANWR. Like the video if you haven't already. Thank you, Maria R. Yeah, Red Dead is very good, and also Red Dead 2. Played one, the copy I have was given by my friend, who's no longer with us anymore. I'm sorry to hear that. I haven't played Red Dead 1, actually. I just went straight into Red Dead 2. It is a very good game. Andy N says, I just installed Arkham City and Uncharted 2. We'll play Red Dead 2 and Witcher 3 soon. Yeah, I like Last of Us 1. I did Platinum Last of Us 2 as well, but look, I don't think it's a terrible game. I think it was a bit overhated, but I don't think it was as good as the first one. So yeah, Last of Us 1 might enter my conversation for like top video games of all time or my favourites, but not the second one. It's not bad, it's just not my favourite. Hey Dylan, any Christmas plans? Travels maybe? No, I'll just be staying here. I got family coming over actually, so just going to spend the time with them. Still do videos and live streams basically, and do the usual. Yeah, during Timber, great option. In UCL Fantasy, so cheap, and in FPL still offers great value. He actually featured in my wildcard video. He was on the thumbnail, so I'm quite bullish on him, but Gabriel is still my favourite Arsenal defender. I didn't even want to use my triple, but we don't know what the second half of the season will look like. Yeah. And also, I felt it was the right thing for me at the time. Gameweek 2, Haaland had a great pre-season, looked sharp against Chelsea, and he faced Ipswich Town at home. So it all kind of lined up, and I'm happy with the decision. I don't regret it. Heavy Rain became such a meme. Jason! Yeah. Jason! Jason! Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it's stuck in my head, as you can tell. God of War, one of the best. Yes. Yes, very good game. Even the original trilogy, outstanding. I just love 3. It's just chaos. You're killing all the gods of Greece. Yeah, and obviously the original Kratos voice actor is also very good. Also, the new one as well, but I do prefer the old one. Just a personal take there. Not just there to see a V. I don't know. I'm a bit on that job. We get a storm coming in the Merseyside Derby before GTA 6. Yeah. So many things have happened before GTA 6. Hopefully Arsenal win in the Premier League. Please. Footy Manager is for strategical, tactical minds. Yeah, not like me. Those like Pep, true lovers of the sport. FIFA is for the new generations. Yeah, look. All right. No need to, go into me. I didn't buy FIFA this year, and I probably won't buy it. It's the first time in ages, actually. Look, I'm not saying FM is bad. I'm saying in terms of a video game, I like to have a hands-on approach. I do like that sort of thing. You know, FM I've played before. Also OSM, which is like a mobile phone game. So don't get me wrong, I like it. I like the idea of being a manager and, you know, just having things go wrong like in FPL. But it's just, in terms of a video game, I prefer something a bit different. What will happen if I sell Salah before he plays Gameweek 15? You won't have him against Fulham in Gameweek... Wait, what? Before he now plays? No. So, yeah, the deadline has passed. If you sell Salah now, you will miss him for the Fulham game. You don't want to do that. You can't sell him for the Gameweek 15 deadline and basically have another option for this week. You can't do that. Mohit says Fulham was Arsenal's bogey team last season with a draw and a loss. Yeah, but historically Arsenal have a great record against Fulham, and I do think, obviously we'll wait and see how it goes, but yeah, I do think Arsenal have a great chance of winning this, but Fulham are tough. They're 6th in the Premier League table. I didn't captain Saka because I think Spurs is an easier game right now, but we'll wait and see. Got Matoma's captain now, Salah isn't playing. Not my favourite, to be fair, but Leicester's a good fixture. They should have conceded 2 or 3 against West Ham. No, I triple captain Salah against Everton, but now since it's postponed, the points will go to my vice captain. Yeah, exactly that. I'm just wondering who that is. ANWR says, I checked my team now. Palmer Vice and Wood in for Salah. And of course, transfer rolled. I got 3 transfers now. Not the worst, considering I forgot the deadline. Yeah, that's not too shabby. I could have also done that. You know, rolled, had Chris Wood play, but I bought Nicholas Jackson. We'll see how horribly wrong that goes. Playing Kingdom Come Deliverance at the moment. The sequel's coming out soon. No, I haven't played it. I've played a lot of video games, but there's also a lot I haven't played. The same goes for shows and movies, so I'm still looking to build my collection, really. Wes says, hi Dylan, I -8 a few days ago. Trent Diaz, 4.5 forward for Wood, Mbuma and 8 Nuri. Had to wildcard Raya, Timber, Gavardio, Dean, Semenya, Fernandez, Bowen, Saka, Isak, Watkins, Haaland. It's a great squad. I'm just a bit concerned about a couple of things. So, to buy Haaland back, would you have... I don't know how many free transfers you got to buy Salah for, probably at the expense of Haaland, right? You've also got Dean. Looks good for this week if he starts, but I don't trust Aston Villa defensively. Enzo's a decent budget midfielder, but I think you could still do better. The rest looks really solid, though, I have to say. I triple captain in Mbuma and got 45 points. Yeah, I mean, that's another good example there. The Last of Us was great, says Twisted Parky. I agree. Come on, you gunners, says Rye. Yes, a big opportunity for Arsenal and Chelsea this week to claw the deficit, even Man City, on Liverpool. I just hope there are no UCL games during Gameweek 25-33. I don't want Salah to be rested. Easy triple captain. I'll double check that, but I think there is in at least one of those. Also, another double game week, especially if 4 Premier League teams in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. Yeah, exactly that. It's just not going to be as many doubles and blanks as last season, but we've already got one, of course, with the postponement of the Merseyside Derby. Big Haaland haul coming up. I hope not, but I think it's possible. Got Matoma captain now. Yeah, I just covered that. Have you finished Assassin's Creed Valhalla? I didn't play it. In terms of recent Assassin's Creed games, the only one I've played is Origins, which I think was actually quite good, despite the different direction Ubisoft took. Assassin's Creed 2 remains my favourite of the series, but I also like Brotherhood. I think that's very underrated. And I actually platinumed that and 2 recently on the PS4/PS5. I'm looking to play Revelations soon, but I've got such a long list of games, which now includes Cyberpunk and Elden Ring. I've got Bloodborne on the list and so many games, so eventually I'll go back to Revelations, which I've already played many years ago. Metal Gear Solid, yeah. Wipeout is a good game. Not in my favourites, but yeah, that's a good game. Metal Gear Solid, I'm not sure which one's the best. I mean, you can make a case for any of them, but 4 was really good on the PS3. I didn't play that much, though, to be honest. I mainly played the originals on PSP and also on the PS2. Yeah, so Metal Gear Solid 1 or 2, 3. And to be honest, I don't remember much of it, but I just remember having a great time. The recent Prince of Persia game was disappointing. Yeah, I didn't play that since the PS2 era. I kind of like did a swap with one of my neighbours for PS2 games. I think he borrowed me the Prince of Persia game. I think it was 2005, that one. And yeah, it was a really good game. I enjoyed it. Yeah, RoboCop on PS5, I heard it's good. I was looking at buying it, actually, but yeah, it's not going to be my favourite games. I haven't even played it. Sorry, Dylan, it was a free hit. No worries. Yeah, the free hit still looks pretty good. Still looks pretty good. I think that's perfect, actually, to use it for one game week. It's crazy if Arsenal win Champions League before GTA 6 come in. Let's keep it civil, mate. Come on. Arsenal will win the Champions League one day, hopefully whilst I'm still here. That'd be the aim. Salah versus Fulham is nice, but Palmer versus Brentford is so tempting for the captaincy. True. I'd still probably go for Salah at the moment, but that will definitely be a debate to have over the next couple of days. Do you know if Watkins counts for double points in this week's FPL challenge? Yeah, great question. That was covered by Joe and Twisted Parky earlier. It seems like, according to the rules, Watkins will have his points doubled. So I think what they mean is players at 9 million or above. Thank you, Rai. So yeah, let's just keep on getting more likes. That'd be greatly appreciated. Mass Effect, yeah, I forgot. I played that back in February. Time flies. Yeah, when I originally played Mass Effect, I liked it, but not that much. But I played it recently. So originally I played Mass Effect 2 and 3 on the PS3 because they didn't have the original one at the time. But recently there was the collection. I got it for free from PS Plus, and I played the first one and I got hooked. And then I played 2 and 3, platinumed all of them, and I loved it. Even got all the additional trophies and stuff. Played on Insanity. Yeah, Mass Effect Trilogy would be up there on my list. Thank you for reminding me. Try Subnautica, you won't regret. There are so many different games, to be fair, so I'll add that to my list. Mate, you should like Remnant 2. It's amazing. I haven't played that, and maybe I'm being stupid. I haven't heard of it, or maybe I'm being dumb. Best Resident Evil game? Probably 4. It's a classic. I actually bought the original, the PS4 version, because it was like £2 or £1.67, something ridiculous like that. So I'm going to play that again. That's also on my list to play very soon. Salah for Ballon d'Or? As things stand, he'd be up there alongside Lewandowski and Rafinha, but it's a long season. Let's see how it goes. Josh sold and Boomer for Gordon, 2-week punt against Leicester and Ipswich. That's pretty decent. But, yeah, I'm not a big fan of Gordon, especially if he gets shifted to the right to accommodate Harvey Barnes, for example. What would be bigger, Arsenal win the Champions League or the Premier League? Oh, the Champions League, definitely. The only criticism people really have about Arsenal is you never won the Champions League. I think that ends all debates, but, biggest club in London. There is no debate for me anyway, but with the Champions League, that kind of puts it to bed. So it's definitely the Champions League. I'll be honest, though. I think the Premier League is maybe tougher to win nowadays, especially with the standard City have set. Maybe this season it's not going to be as tough, but yeah, Champions League for me all day long. And why not both? I mean, I'm greedy. I want all of them. Arsenal have been starving for too long, just like Argentina were recently. Then they, win 4 trophies in a row. I'm hoping Arsenal can do something similar. Rai says, I'm out. Good luck to everyone. Peace. Likewise, Rai. Thank you for tuning in. You have an option to show only players eligible for double points in Fantasy Challenge, and it doesn't show Watkins. Oh, right. Okay, because someone earlier said that Watkins was in the list. So, yeah, maybe you're right. Because they do say over 9 million. So maybe I'm wrong about that. I followed you for over 3 years now. I pray everything is okay on your side. Have a beautiful Christmas and have a belated New Year. Likewise to you, very kind words. The man, the myth, the legend. And yeah, thank you very much for supporting the channel for over 3 years. At the time, we probably had like 5,000 subscribers. So I do appreciate it. I haven't played Silent Hill 2 Remake. I might have it in my library. PS Plus do have quite a lot of good games there. Underrated and overrated video game? That is a good question. I mean, overrated. I mean, could I say Call of Duty? There are some really good ones, by the way. Modern Warfare 2, the original Black Ops, and even, Black Ops 2 and 3 were good and stuff, but I don't know. I need to think about that. Overrated video game. Even with like games I'm not a big fan of, I tend to enjoy them anyway, when I play them, so I need to think about that. Underrated. I mean, is Witcher 3 underrated? I mean, a lot of people, like, amongst my friends and stuff, they just play like FIFA, Call of Duty, and, these kind of like trendy games, these annual releases. And they would never even think about playing Witcher 3, so I don't know. It just depends on the context. I think there might be one. BioShock comes to mind in terms of underrated games. Cyberpunk, I know it's getting a lot of love now, but it was hated at the time because of the glitches, and I think it's a really good game. So maybe Cyberpunk would be up there. Why not Saka captain? I discussed this earlier, but basically I think Spurs is a better fixture than Fulham right now, and I think Chelsea will score a lot of goals. Watkins is in the graphics though. Yeah, I think they're confused. FPL are confused. So honestly, I don't know what the bloody hell they're doing. That's a good point, isn't it? So let's go to the graphics. So on my screen, I've got Trent, Haaland, Smith Rowe, and Xerxes. Obviously, they're not really too relevant to this week's challenge, except Haaland. Let's deal with this once and for all before we end this stream. So where the hell can I... Hello? Where can we see this? I'll be honest, with FPL Challenge, I just set my team and stuff like that. I know how to work my way through this page, but I don't know how to get to the other pages if there's like a breakdown of... Oh, it's probably going to be in the homepage, right? Yeah. Well done, Dylan. Yeah, so big spender. So players costing over 9 million. Okay, is there actually... Yeah, he's actually there. Come on, surely Watkins will get double points. You know, Son, Watkins, Saka, Haaland. What do they all have in common? They all cost 9 million or above. So yeah, I'll be honest, I'll take a plunge here. I think Watkins counts. He will get double points, basically, for FPL Challenge. So that's just my opinion. I'm going to captain him. It's a risk, but yeah. I know it does say over 9 million, which leads to confusion, but I'm fairly sure Watkins will have his points doubled. By how much percentage do you think the situation decreased the ownership of Salah? All for inactive teams because of auto-sub. In terms of effective ownership, a lot. But in terms of overall ownership, I don't think people would have sold him in most cases because he's the best asset in the game. You'll want him back for Gameweek 16 immediately. Valorant overrated, says Safar. I've never played it. Okay, that's an interesting shout. I think Horizon Zero Dawn was overrated. Never got into that game for some reason. Okay, you know what? I've actually played that game, and I might agree with you. I don't think it's a bad game. You know, very good graphics. The animations are fantastic. You know, good voice acting, like Lance Reddick, I think, the late Lance Reddick, who's there. And I got into it eventually, but yeah, I think that might actually be a shout for overrated game, Andy. I'm not going to lie. I haven't played Rainbow Six Siege somehow. Yeah, I haven't played it. Joe says they made a mistake. Yeah, I think so. I think I think Watkins will count. Garnacho's possibly the weak link in my team. Who would you consider swapping him for? Depends on the budget you're working with, but Bowen, Kudus, Semenyo, Rogers would all be in that kind of list. Amad Diallo could be a cheeky punt, Matoma. If I had to pick one, though, it'd ideally be Bowen. The thing about Arsenal that's most positive is they finally have a defence that isn't a liability on set pieces and can actually win games on their own by scoring and getting clean sheets. Yeah, I think the biggest compliment I can give Arsenal is they can win in different ways. They can batter a team, they can play beautiful football and, you know, score 4 or 5 in a game. They can also just win just by set pieces. They can win 1-0. They can do it away from home against the best teams. They're unbeaten against the Big Six in almost 2 seasons. So, yeah, Arsenal have a lot going for them. It's just every year they have 4 or 5 games where they don't win, and that costs them in the Premier League, and maybe they lose in the Cup as well in that same kind of period, and that really leaves them trophyless. Arsenal need to get that out of their system. You know, of course, every team goes for a blip in the season, but you can't lose 3 or 4 in a row in the Prem like City did very recently, and typically they don't do that, right? What's your fantasy challenge squad? You can see it on screen. There might be a few changes though. Click on the scout tab, says Joe. All right, yeah, that is a good one. Click on the player as well. Yeah, so scout tab. Let's see. Scouts. I've actually never gone on this before. So FPL challenge players costing 9 million and over. There you go. Look, that's very clear. You've got Watkins in the thumbnail, and here it says players costing 9 million and over. Despite the fact that in the FPL challenge managed team section, it says players over 9 million. So they might have made a little bit of a mistake there. We might need to give a bit of feedback for FPL so they don't cause as much confusion. But I appreciate it. We've covered it. So yeah, Joe, I think you're pretty much, you know, spot on there. Yeah, Ratchet & Clank underrated. I actually played the remake very recently. I can't remember when. I mean, time just... I honestly have no recollection of time right now. I might have played it in June or July. Yeah, I like that game. Sly. The Sly Cooper trilogy, really good. I like Jack and Daxter. That's an underrated game, especially the first one. I think the second and third... Yeah, they're also quite underrated, to be fair. Since we're waiting on that game to start, what is your go-to meal? Oh my god. I will be cutting off soon, since I've been going for, what, 3 hours now? Yeah, Jesus. But my go-to food depends on the mood, really, but I like empanadas, especially with carne, with beef. But I also like pasta and chicken, which I had yesterday. I like pizza margherita. I like a Greek gyros. There's a lot of things I like, to be honest. I'm a fat bastard. Tacos. But yeah, it just depends on how I'm feeling. Also, I've recently eaten a lot more Asian food, and I love it. I absolutely love it, whether it's chicken chow mein, whether it's a ramen, especially in winter. Ramen is, oh, yeah, it's really good. So honestly, I can't go to one. I'm sorry, I can't. Scarface or Godfather 1, they're both amazing. That's like asking which kid you prefer. Or do you support Arsenal or Argentina more? I can't do that. I think objectively, the first Godfather film is a better movie, but Scarface is arguably more entertaining. It's very, very close, and Al Pacino's acting in Scarface is remarkable, just like Marlon Brando in Godfather. I can't pick, honestly. Maybe Godfather 1, but oh, I can't, man. They're both amazing. Dean is a cold choice. Nice fixtures ahead. Oh yeah, I've only gone from an FPL challenge, by the way. In FPL, I don't like him at all, and Aston Villa are terrible defensively. But Watkins captain, yeah, I'm really bullish on that this week. FPL Kevy says, yeah, I have no budget. I don't know why I spelled like that. Feels difficult swapping Garnacho for someone that's not sideways right now. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, right. Maybe Kudus then. I'd take a punt on Kudus, but he didn't play well against Leicester. I've been playing old games like Dead Rising, Dead Island lately. I typically play old games. I know this kind of kicking off a bit with PS5. They're releasing more games now with the new generation, but it has been slow. And the PS5 is a great console, but I do think the collection of games is lacking compared to previous generations. And I ultimately think PS2 and PS3 had the best games overall. The best library that you'll ever find, I think. And of course, you could add Xbox or Xbox 360 to that list, but I think PS2, I mean, wow, how many great games you got there. Click the player and transfer out, then you can see by clicking the only 9 million player. Fair enough, but that's all been covered now. Best advices, bro. Thank you, Extra HD. If you go for 2 of Enzo Ahmad Rogers, it allows you 2 of Watkins, Isak Jackson, and Salah Parmasaka. Yeah, and I'd pick Rogers and Amad Diallo at this moment in time. Astro's Playman was also a gem. Yeah, they've also got a new one, right? Astrobot, I think it's called. Am I right? Or am I? No way. Let me check that out again. A lot of talk about video games today, which I'm surprised that we don't really get that often. Astro PS5. What's the new game called? Yeah, it's called Astrobot. Okay. Yeah, I played Astro's Playroom. That was my first platinum on the PS5. People have been sleeping on Jackson. Well, I bought him in this week, so we'll see how he goes. But yeah, he's a good option for the captaincy as well. Mafia 1 and 2, my favorite childhood games. I've got that in my library. I think I've got Mafia... I might have Mafia 2 for some reason in my library. I got it for free. So I'll probably give that a go. I haven't played it before. Well, my team now is rated 100% on both team rating and Gameweek 16. That's promising, but I'll be honest. I know these algorithms are quite good, like Fantasy Football Hubs, but take it with a pinch of salt. That's all I'd say. Xbox or PlayStation? I've always been a PlayStation guy, to be fair. And look, don't get me wrong, there are some Xbox games that I love, like Halo, which I've been playing on PC. And they've got some great exclusives like Gears of War back in the day. But yeah, it's PlayStation for me. And I also think they've got better exclusives. We've seen that from the PS3 era as well. Give us your best Pedro Porro, Carvajal. Yeah, Pedro Porro, Carvajal. Yeah, the Spaniards will say Carvajal. But yeah. I don't think the Aston Villa game will be postponed, but I can't guarantee it. I played a bit of Final Fantasy, mainly Final Fantasy VII, but not much. Basically, my mum actually wanted to play it because she liked the art style. So yeah, I had the PS3 set up in the living room, so she played it a little bit, and sometimes I'd play a little bit. But yeah, I'll be honest, I need to play it more. I'd like to go from start to finish and give it a real go because yeah, it's quite good actually. Isn't De Bruyne a big rotation risk? Yes, he is a big rotation risk. That's why I haven't bought him myself. But I do think as a 1 week punt, he could be worth it. Thank you very much, Suki. Safir says, heading out for lunch. Great stream, Dylan, and good luck, everyone. Likewise, I'll be having lunch very soon. Love the Killzone series. Voice acting amazing with Brian Cox. I actually didn't know that. I didn't know Brian Cox was in there. And obviously I'm watching Succession where he's saying, fuck off all the time. Wow, really? That's... Killzone. I played Killzone 2 and 3, I believe. Oh, Visari. No way. Oh, yes. Wow, because I didn't play this like in so many years. I actually didn't know that. So thank you for letting me know. Eman FC says Gameweek 16 is stacked with loads of captaincy options, including Cunha, Joao Pedro, Isak, Saka, Salah, Palmer. Is it saying that Palmer's predicted as the best captain for it? I'm predicted to get 68.5. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of captaincy options next week, and I'm very happy with my setup. Bit gutted I don't have Isak, but I could maybe downgrade Mbumo to a cheap midfielder like Rodgers to make that happen. So, yeah, I'll be very interested in that. Salah's my current go-to, though, especially if he gets a rest or fewer minutes against Girona. He will be up and firing against Fulham. PlayStation, says Maria R. Yeah, I mean, look, Xbox is still really good. I'm not like a fanboy. It's like, Xbox sucks, but I just prefer PlayStation. Love the pronouncing. Cheers and have a good one. Thank you very much, FPL Kevy. Enjoy the weekend. Alex says, cheers and bot appetit. Bot appetit. Likewise, Alex ND. Gameweek 16 is stacked. Yes, but let's wait and see. I do think Gameweek 15 could be low scoring, but maybe we could, I don't know, be compensated with the upcoming deadline. Possible lowest points this week, I don't want to go into that. You know, whenever I'm asked about points and stuff, you know my feelings about that. I'm going to captain Saka or Palmer. What, for next week? Yeah, fair enough. For me, it's between Salah and Palmer, but Saka is still a great choice. So that's my FPL challenge team, and for those that maybe are tuning in late, this is my final FPL squad. So Raya in goal, a back three of Veltman, Gabriel, Aït-Nouri, with a midfield four of Mbumo, Saka, Palmer, and Semenyo, Jackson, Joao Pedro, and Cunha up front, and a bench of Valdimarsson, Vandenberg, and Salah and Mikalenko, with the Merseyside Derby being postponed. So I've only got one bench player available. If both Veltman and Gabriel are out, I'm down to 10 men. I made one free transfer this week of Chris Wood to Jackson. So this is the first game week of the season where I don't have Chris Wood in my FPL team. Thank you very much for watching this video and listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. I promise to get this stream to as many likes as possible and to keep on pushing towards 31,000 subscribers and beyond. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description below for my Patreon and the championships for early access to my videos, amongst many other perks, the Discord server, FPL League, Drafthound, as well as Spotify. You can find all of them in the description, and thank you very much for a very entertaining stream from my perspective for the last 3 hours. Palmer against the woeful Brentford defence looks unavoidable. Yeah, that's definitely a great call there. Brentford away from home particularly are quite suspect. Too many options, I'll probably go for Salah, but if Brentford play this bad against Newcastle, I could go for Palmer. Yeah, that's why it's open, up in the air. We might discuss this a little bit in the reaction stream, which will likely be tonight, but I think it's best to discuss this in the next deadline stream and across my videos, so stay tuned for those as well. Thank you, Ahmad, for tuning in, and also Maria R. You have a great team, Dylan. I'm in the same position as you, as one player available on the bench. Have a great weekend. Likewise, yeah, if Veltman and Gabriel are available, it looks pretty decent for this week, but I still need to make defensive reinforcements. Erland captain, says Joe. Good luck, mate. A few Erling Haaland captainers in the chat, and also the same goes for Bowen, which is quite surprising. See you, Ahmad and Joe. It's been a pleasure talking to all of you. Keep your eyes peeled for FPL and News Fantasy content over the weekend. If you are a patron or a channel member, you can already check out the best limitless team for match day 6, and I did cover the latest injury updates, like Christian Pulisic, who is subbed off against Atalanta due to injury, so let's see how that goes. Mohit says Brentford have been a far better team when playing at home. The game against Newcastle should be a good one. Yes, and Mbumo hopefully can deliver and somehow push me up the ranks, because keeping Mbumo might have been a mistake on my part instead of selling Bruno Fernandes, but we'll talk about that in the upcoming streams and videos. Take care, enjoy the football. I'll see you very soon. Hopefully, we don't get more postponed games and the weather gets much better.